Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 205th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and we have a panel that's lighter than Prince Patel this weekend. Andy Patterson and Dave Lee have jumped on, hoping for a couple of the guys to come. Apparently, he hated Dave Lowback. He's currently cleaning his dog. He's rolled in shit, so we'll have to leave Dave to it. Hopefully, Dave will join us, Andy, after he's given the dog a good scrubbing.
The least said about dogs and stuff like that, mate, on this podcast, the better. You know, some of the people that listen to this show actually are quite, dog lovers as such, but they seem to kind of like to go on about dog getting nonced and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, no stories of Johnny Nelson's dog or anything like that. Now, I'm tempted to start in Russia this weekend, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go to the Lagoon Leisure Centre in Paisley, Scotland. We'll get onto the Russia card later. All the other things, Bellew of the week, Twitter questions, Facebook questions. And I'm going to drag the AJ Molina chat forward. And then there's another good card on next week, I think, Richard Schaefer's first show. And if you haven't heard my interview with Richard Schaefer, it's up on the YouTube page. It only lasts for about 5 minutes. He was in Belfast this... what day was it? I think it was Tuesday or Thursday. I'm losing track of time already. I think it was last Tuesday. Frampton and Santa Cruz are both in Belfast doing a press conference ahead of their January 28th rematch. Richard Schaefer was there, got a word with him. Also, Leo Santa Cruz and Sam Watson. We'll have those ones going up on the YouTube page soon. But Richard Schaefer's running a show next weekend, and we'll be previewing that later on. Right, back to Paisley before anyone starts shouting at me. Billy Joe Saunders defending his WBO World Middleweight title successfully. Unanimous points decision victory over Artur Akavov. Looking down the undercard, Jack Catterall defended a meaningless strap against Diego Gonzalo Luque. Steve Norman, Paul Butler, John O'Carroll, and a bunch of other characters getting wins on the undercard. We'll go to the main event first of all, Andy. He was ring rusty. He looked heavy. He looked sluggish. He'd been out for a year, Billy Joe Saunders. Akavov, you never really know what you're going to get with these WBO guys. Was he going to be a Kirill Relic, or was he going to be another Predrag Radosavich? Turned out to be pretty decent, actually, Akavov, whether that was more to do with the fact that he was better than we thought, or that Saunders just looked so poor. Billy Joe, on this evidence, isn't going to be ruffling too many feathers at the top of the middleweight tree, but can we just put it down to inactivity?
Part of it, mate. Unfortunately, I haven't watched the first 3 rounds. I was actually out on a night out last night. I came home, watched the 4th and 5th rounds, and I'm saying to myself, oof, bad. I basically look like a guy who's basically trained just to simply make the weight. I know there was the talk last week that the reason for the postponement for a week was for the documents, for the medical documents that were actually in Russian. That's not something I really kind of buy, because I think you can get Russian, any language translated in a matter of 2 days. If you know the right people, or you should know the right people anyway. You think the promoter's been in that game long enough to actually get that sorted. The cynic in me probably just thinks that maybe Saunders just couldn't make the weight. I think Kurt was mentioning earlier on there that he's maybe got 2 mandatory defences backing up now, so he's going to have to get himself back in the gym. I don't know what the situation is with Jimmy Tibbs, for instance, but whatever it is, hopefully he can get it resolved, because he badly needs him. I don't know what I seen more last night, or heard more, was actually take a deep breath. I actually heard take a deep breath more than I seen Billy Joe Saunders land punches. It was pretty Abraham, actually. There was one point during the fight, I think it was late on. Obviously he's knackered, but he was throwing punches there like Mike Alvarado did before the Brandon Rios third fight. Absolutely, just no balance, just no snap, just absolutely fucked. As I say, it's a guy who's just basically trained to make the weight and nothing else. He's had to get back out, obviously, in fight to defend it, well, to obviously keep his title. But that title is just it's a piece of paper just now. He needs to badly step it up, not just in his career, but his I'm not going to say his personal life, but certainly his training life, professional life anyway. He needs to get back in that gym. He needs to get his training situation fixed out, his trainer sorted out as well, and start getting serious again, because on that performance there last night, he would have been absolutely badly hurt against Golovkin if he fought him there last night. It would have been absolutely, there'd have been calls for boxing to get banned again if that fight had happened, seriously. So say Saunders, he's got to go back. He's got to kind of think about what he's going to do, because last night he could just have potentially just pissed away a big massive payday. And to be honest, if he gets that Golovkin fight and it is the money he's looking for, I don't think we'll see hiding our tail about Billy Joe Saunders again after that Golovkin fight, if it ever happens.
Well, you're talking about Golovkin there, Andy. As far as we're aware, Frank Warren, Mr. Soundbite himself, has made an offer. He's made an offer to Chris Eubank Jr. for this rematch. If that fight comes off, would you be happy enough with that? Obviously, Saunders is going to have to try and push these mandatories out the way, first of all. Eubank Jr. rematch. Eubank Jr. has been absolutely nowhere to be seen. Saunders has finally come back now. A bit of the shine has been taken off that rematch. It seems as if it would be oh, well, you're not really doing anything. I'm not really doing anything. We might as well get together and fight.
Yeah, possibly. But then again, Eubank's another one. He's basically messing about as well with his career. At least say the better, actually. I just think he's a guy. Well, Saunders as well. I mean, if they want to get it on, get it on. But I know Warren was mentioning he'd made another offer to Eubank. I mean, that actually just defies belief. I've heard Hearn, I've heard Warren say that the Eubanks are the worst to deal with. I think even Warren maybe even step one step further and said that he wouldn't even want to deal with them again. So he's back offering them fucking contracts and stuff for the fight Billy Joe Saunders. Maybe it's something to do with the fact that, again, he's been out the ring for a year. But why has he been out the ring for a year? There's been slight injuries, we've been told. There's been other allegations going about. I don't know how true they are, which I'm not getting into. But it's an absolute waste as to how that's went down. Actually, as I said, I don't want to be too harsh on the guy, but that last night was complete and utter muck, bogging, terrible. As for a Eubank rematch, I say I'm not overly fussed for it. In all honesty, I thought he won convincingly the first time. They can let it marinate, I suppose. But the way things are going, Eubank's still fighting stiffs, or if he's fighting anybody, I see he's fighting a pair of sandals on Instagram there recently. As for Saunders, well, we know what he's got to do. He's got to get his professional life sorted out first before he takes any sort of kind of serious test.
Yeah, rather than being a fight that everyone's looking forward to, it feels to me like if it happened, the rematch did happen, it would be sort of we'll both run out of options type of fight. Let's make this one. But as you say, Andy, the Eubanks are notoriously difficult to deal with. And Saunders is having his own problems at the moment. Dave Lee, I know you struggled like hell to stay awake for this one and saw bits and pieces of the fight. It was pretty much repetitive for the full 12 rounds. Whatever you didn't see, you didn't really miss much. Just before you give us your assessment and say whatever you want to say about Saunders or anything else, Jack Rice had actually thrown in a question. This is WBO related. He says, has Billy Joe Saunders' reign become more of a joke than Liam Smith's was? It's pretty much head for head at the moment.
Yeah, it pretty much is. I do like Saunders. I think he is considerably talented, but as Andy mentioned, he seems to be pissing away that talent. We talked about it last week as well. Billy Joe Saunders, he's a guy who needs to be active. The reason being is he's not the consummate professional. He doesn't live the life. So if he hasn't got a fight scheduled, he's not going to be in the gym training, and he's going to blow up in weight. And that's what Andy mentioned there. I mean, he probably trained for this fight just to lose all that weight, which is not good. And especially as well, I mean, it's not good to blow up in weight and constantly drag your body down to your fighting weight. I mean, we've seen that before in the past with Ricky Hatton, haven't we? It's when you're younger, you can do that, and that's all well and good. But when you reach your late 20s, early 30s, as your metabolism slows, it becomes harder and it becomes more detrimental to your long-term health and your long-term shelf life. Ricky Hatton, for instance, talking about Hatton, he was a guy who started off, walking through the likes of, Costa Jesus punches, Vince Phillips punches. And by the end of his career, he was getting wobbled by the, blown up lightweights like Juan Lezcano. It's not good to constantly drag your body down to a fighting weight. And that's what Saunders seems to be doing. He doesn't live the life. And, last night, as you mentioned, Steve, I didn't watch the fight in its entirety, not because it was so boring. Well, it was partly due to that, but I was up very early that day, and I just couldn't stay awake for the full fight. I watched about 5, 6, maybe 7 rounds. I was drifting in and out of sleep, but from what I saw, Saunders his timing looked way off, looked very sluggish. And again, I put a large part of that down to the fact that he's not in the gym training every day. He's probably eating shit, drinking late nights. If he hasn't got a fight schedule, he's not in the gym. We saw that as well last year when he fought in July. It was supposed to be the tune-up for the postponed fight with Andy Lee in September, which later happened in December. And I think that was up at light heavyweight or something. I mean, he was badly out of shape, and it just sums up. It just sums up Saunders. I mean, he's not a guy who just lives the life, does he? And As I said, I do like Saunders, and it's a terrible shame that if he does kind of piss away whatever talent he does have, with these bad habits, not training. But he even admitted himself in the interview with IFL I saw today that if he had fought Golovkin last night, he would have got absolutely obliterated. No, that was nowhere near good enough last night. From reading some comments as well, he was potentially somewhat fortunate to win, which is incredible because that chap he fought, Akavov, had no credentials whatsoever coming to the fight. Okay, we didn't expect much from him. He seemed to be better than advertised, but still, guys like that shouldn't be going, 12 rounds and, life and death with, a reigning world champion, should he? So, all things considered, yeah, just piss poor, really.
No, I agree with you, David. I don't want to sound like I'm completely shitting on Billy Joe, because in the past I've been impressed with him. The kid's got skills, and it's more like yourself, out of a frustration, out of him not living up to his talent more than anything. If you look at his record, I gave him respect when he beat Spike O'Sullivan undefeated, John Ryder undefeated, Blandamura pretty poor but undefeated, Eubank Jr., Andy Lee. There's good names there on his record, and I was annoyed that I know that there was money issues and what have you, and it didn't work out, but I thought he should have been fighting Gabe Rosado on that undercard. I could be wrong. I think it was the Alvarez-Smith undercard. Should have been on that fight, putting himself across to the market to try and put himself into position for the Canelo-Golovkin fight. Yeah. That really was something that I thought he should have been looking for.
Yeah, there's probably reasons for his inactivity. I don't know what those reasons are. There's rumors out there. I'm not going to get into them because they're unsubstantiated. But whatever the case is, I hope he sorts it out. There's a situation with the trainer Tibbs. Maybe Tibbs has got maybe Tibbs has got fed up with him and he's ill-disciplined in his way of life. I don't know. I'm speculating, but
Tibbs is a 70-year-old man as well, isn't he? I mean, he's if Billy Joe's not doing what he's told in the gym or whatever, and he's not pulling his weight, or he's just basically just not doing the training right, thinks he maybe knows best. Jimmy Tibbs is a 70-year-old man. He doesn't need that shit at his time of life.
Absolutely, Andy. Absolutely. And as you said, Steve, it's not me shitting on Saunders. It's that I'm a fan of Saunders, and it's very, as you said, very, very frustrating to see him perform so poorly when I know we've seen it that he can perform much better than that. Andy Lee fight, I thought he was superb the first 6-7 rounds against Eubank. I mean, he completely and utterly outclassed Junior, didn't he? I mean, yeah. That's what he's capable of on his day. But last night, just absolutely abysmal.
What about the corner last night, though, Steve? Fuck it.
Yeah, people mention that for Bellew of the week. Who was that guy? Do we know who was the guy in the corner?
A heavy breather, apparently. I don't know who his name was, actually.
Is he one of the MGM ones who's coming from Marbella?
I'm pretty sure that was a team from that gym, actually, mate, in all honesty.
Yeah, needed experience, didn't he, in the corner? Although, Andy, hopefully, this is the rust shed now. This is the bad performance. He's got it out of his system. He knuckles down. They get him the defence or whatever it is in another couple of months' time. And hopefully this is it out of his system now and he kicks on. That could be the case.
It could be the case, but at the same time, I don't know if Warren's got any dates planned yet. If he has, he needs to get Billy Joe on it. I think if Warren can get some maybe 3 cards arranged over the next 6 months and stuff, even though it's just to kind of just shed the rust, just kind of continue this kind of manage the weight, get a couple of warm-up fights, then start stepping it up if that's going to be the case. Just talking about one of his opponents, Blandamura, I noticed he won the European middleweight title last night. That's just like a wee fact there. But yeah, as I say, I think Saunders really needs a day. I think they were mentioning before the fight last night that he was planning to be back in the gym again around about January time. I don't think at the minute, off that performance and considering what he's claiming, is that he needs to be back in the gym over Christmas, off the drink, off the food, get the nutrition right. He needs to get somebody in there to help him with that sort of stuff, because as we mentioned, what is he, 27, 28? Dave mentioned that you kind of keep going up in weight like that and blowing up and just cutting it off, because eventually we'll catch up with the older you get. You just can't take the weight off. You've got to go up in weight, and before you know where you are, you're outside your comfort zone. You're fucked.
At that level, Andy, you have to live the life, don't you?
Yep. Oh, definitely, mate. I mean, I know it's a short shelf life, maybe 8 to 10 years, at your prime possibly. But as I says, people like Fury can maybe get away with it because he hasn't really, he's fighting kind of bigger guys, kind of slower guys. Doing the kind of lower weight stuff. You just, you're draining so much water out yourself. I mean, I don't know how comfortable he made the weight there on Friday, but did Kurt mention he came in there at 175 there last night in that ring as a light heavyweight? So you just wonder how much he's really kind of packed on there after that weigh-in, food-wise.
I read somewhere he looked dry at the weigh-in. I didn't see the weigh-in, no, but a lot of people say he looked a bit dry. So I don't read into that what you will. But Saunders mentioned himself as well, Andy, that he needs another kind of like a tool sharpener before going in with the big fights. But doesn't he have like 2 WBO mandated defenses coming up, like where he has to defend against his mandatories or something? Or?
Kurt mentioned that as well. Actually, I meant to have a quick check before we came on, but from memory, I'm pretty sure. Remember the Georgian guys? I think is it Kurtsadze or something? He's absolutely smashed up by Antoine Douglas. I think that is a fight actually that I would not be taking lightly, because that guy, even though he might be crude and he might be technically not that great, that guy is a machine. He just keeps coming forward, and if Billy Joe's not got the punching power, if he's not got the output, if he's wanting to go to the ropes, that is absolutely up that Georgian street, and that would be something he doesn't want to do. Tommy Langford fight, I think, is potentially out there as well. I think that might be. So. Yeah. One might make that, but then I don't know if he really rates Langford or whatever he wants to kind of protect him. But as I say, that Georgian, that is not a fight you need to take lightly. By the way, he needs to be in proper condition for that fight, because that guy will bring it.
I don't think he's going to protect Langford. I think Langford has been groomed from a very early stage to be in position for this title shot at Billy Joe Saunders, I think.
It's been flown about, Steve, a lot, hasn't it? That fight.
Yeah.
So it's been flown about for a reason. Yeah. So they probably are propping up Langford for inevitable defence. Because let's be honest, Langford doesn't really have a high ceiling, does he?
Just looking at the rankings just now, I'd noticed Murata's in there as well. Number 3, Lemieux, Nandam, Rob Brandt, don't know who that guy is. You've got the Pole, Silitsky, Willie Monroe Jr., Kretov. There's a guy that's kind of went off the boil a wee bit as well. He maybe found his level, I suppose.
What about Lemieux, Saunders? How would you see that going?
Based off that evidence, mate, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get knocked out off Lemieux, off that performance there last night. As I say, you're only good as your last fight, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I read Lemieux didn't look great last time out either.
And I saw that fight.
Yeah, he was fighting a fella. I forget his name. Was it Rios? Is it? But he was a guy who got beaten, like lost nearly every round against Tommy Langford. Like, so it kind of shows you that kind of level was.
Yeah, he was. Oh no, sorry, I was thinking of De La Rosa, but that was Stevens, wasn't it? I'm getting them mixed up now. Yeah, I think on form, fit, sharp Billy Joe Saunders boxes his ears off. But like you say, Andy, on evidence of last night, if that was Lemieux in the other corner, then it would have been a different story. Let's just get Dave the Hater Low back in. His hands are covered in shit, but he's ready to talk about Billy Joe Saunders with us. Now, Dave.
I washed my hands. I washed them.
Listen, I'm sure you weren't floating around looking for a link to Box Nation last night, so don't think that you have to give us a round-by-round breakdown on how exactly the fight went. Let me ask you this question, though, from David Booth. And this is a good question, I think, from David, because we're talking about a potential Saunders-Golovkin fight, and it's all about the money and blah, blah, blah. But Saunders, if he's not performing well, the luster and the appeal is going to be taken off the fight. As David says, does Billy Joe Saunders appeal to Golovkin even after inactivity and bad performances? Is he still box office enough for Triple G?
I guess it's lowered a little bit. The problem is Golovkin doesn't have much in the way of options. No one's willing to really fight him. As far as we know, the fights are not happening one way or another. And I'm really tired of getting into the nitty-gritty of the excuses from any of the sides as to why it's not happening. The point is it's not happening. And everybody at middleweight needs these fights to happen, or their legacies are complete shit. I mean, none of them, there's not a single middleweight active right now who is worth a damn. Except for Golovkin. I mean, I guess you can say he's probably got the best one. There's not really much of anything as far as competition there. If Sergio Martinez came back to fight, he would have the best resume at middleweight, and that's pretty sad. I guess Felix Sturm, is he still active? It's terrible. Middleweight is just a joke right now. No one's fighting anybody. And Billy Joe Saunders, I'd like to just be able to just shit on him because he deserved a bad performance last night. I heard some people even say he should have lost that fight. I don't know about that. I didn't see it, but that's pretty terrible if he should have lost to a guy at that level. And I've seen the pictures of him looking like freaking sumo wrestler jogging. I mean, he's obviously been inactive, and whether it's his fault, whether it's Frank Warren's fault, doesn't matter. That it's the pessimist in me says this points to a sharp career downturn, and he's headed for some losses against whoever he fights. Doesn't even matter if it's Golovkin.
as I say, you say that, Steve. I think last night's got a wake up call. Mate, I like Saunders. I mean, I'm a fan of Saunders. I was really fucking pleased when he beat Eubank, just to kind of end that hype train. Just but as I says, drastic action needed. I know people keep going on about, he's been out for a year, but what's he been doing for a year? I mean, even though you're injured and stuff like that, you still, as a professional athlete, you still go to the gym. You still try to kind of tick over as such. Depending on what your injury is, obviously, but you still work on other things. I mean, there's Canelo. He had his hand in a cast, right, and he's working on his jab and his left hook, right. So, come on, maybe common sense. Okay, you're injured and stuff. You go to the ring for a wee bit, get fat and all that stuff. But proper fucking people dedicated to the sport. That's what they do. With a wee injury, they're back in the gym. They're working on wee things and stuff like that. They're working what they can use at that time. Keep the weight off, keep ticking over. But no, he doesn't do it. He needs to kind of, as I say, he needs to sort it out quick.
Needs to sort it out quick, says Andy. Moving on to the undercard, guys. Actually, Daryl Jelly sent me a message which will tie in nicely with Jack Catterall. He said that the interim WBC Fecon Box heavyweight title was on the line over the weekend in Mexico between Filiberto Tovar and Jose Vasquez. Daryl knows that I love a bullshit title. And just to tie that in with Mr. Catterall, he was also fighting for a bullshit title, WBO Intercontinental Super Lightweight Variety. Suppose it gets him highly ranked and what have you. His opponent, Mr. Diego Gonzalo Luque, quite an interesting character. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about this fight, but my own personal view on Catterall, just very briefly, he seems to me to have like a bullying style. I don't mean he's a nasty bastard or anything, but he likes to be on top. He likes to be pushing people backwards and throwing shots. I would like to see how comfortable he would be when someone starts hitting him back consistently. He has to start boxing off the back foot and thinking a little bit more. He likes to be always on top. And the thing that, as well, Andy, about Catterall is that his best win is the Tom Stalker win, which looked like a great win at the time. But since then, Stalker's turned out to be bang average. So how good is Catterall potentially? British title level, European title level? Where do you see him going?
I remember that Stalker fight, mate. It was one of the first times I've ever seen Catterall, and I was, slightly impressed. But Stalker obviously kind of knew he's on that, area level, domestic level type of thing. But he's I'm not on that. Life's just distracting me there actually with some food. Fuck's sake. Catterall, yeah, as I say, I never saw the fight last night. I was actually out on the Randan, so I've not really got much comment to make on it. But for what I read, it was pretty poor. No many fight of the year contender, shall we say, anyway. But I don't know where he's feeling. I know a lot of people are getting pissed off. It seems to be he's getting hyped up for this fight or that fight, and he's not delivering. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a weight issue. I don't know. I know he's been over in America with Mayweather and stuff, sparring in his gym and all that sort of stuff. But as I says, I haven't really seen it, so I can't kind of comment on it. But maybe it's another thing. Maybe it's a levels thing. Maybe he's fighting into the competition.
Any other comments on the undercard? Dave, Catterall, Ormond, Paul Butler was on as well. Any final things to say?
Well, Ormond got his revenge victory, didn't he? But I didn't see that. I saw the Butler fight, which was pretty piss poor, and the aforementioned Catterall Luque fight, which was also atrocious. I mean, that fella that Catterall was fighting, he didn't have a clue, and how he lasted a distance, I'll never know. I mean, Catterall should be dispatching guys like that easily. And Catterall's trainer, I don't know his name, but he was really giving Catterall the right act, wasn't he? I don't know if you saw it, but effing and blinding, and even so much so that John Walling, who never really apologizes for bad language in the corner, even he had to come out and say, "Look, lads, this is a bit over the top," because he was really reading Catterall the right act. He was doing his own impression of Teddy Atlas in the corner. But it was really poor though from Catterall. I mean, it was just he basically sleepwalked through that fight. There's no excuse really, she was dispatching guys of that quality. But the card overall was, from what I saw, pretty poor.
Pretty poor, says Dave. Just before we move on.
So just to say as well. So if Saunders' fight wasn't pushed back a week, was the Catterall fight the main event?
Must have been. I was thinking that myself, actually. If you'd have thrown the Saunders to last week, that wouldn't have been the worst in the world card. But like you say, it's been pushed forward. It must have been Catterall, yeah, and Butler, I suppose. Oh,
my God. Well, imagine paying money, and that's your main event, Catterall, and this guy who didn't look like he ever picked up a pair of boxing gloves before.
Scotland as well.
Nobody goes to Paisley, by the way.
Is there a reason for that, Andy?
It's a shithole. I mean, it's I'll tell you what, it's not as bad as Greenock, mind you. I've got family that stays in Paisley, but it's as I said to Brian King earlier on there, actually, it's not a place you want to go because junkies use your arse as a dartboard, So.
I don't want to be disrespectful to our great friends in Paisley, but the clientele at ringside didn't look the most friendly last night. I'll leave it at that.
Leave it at that, Dave. Keep it diplomatic. Hey to Dave Lowback. Talking of friendly clientele, we've got you on the line, the official voice of American boxing. Before we go over to the Russia card, I want to ask you a question. Actually, that's coming from our friend Joey O. Just flicked it off my phone as we speak. Professional as always. Right. Yeah, Dave, this is right up your street with you being an American who likes to buy pay-per-views. Joey O says, with the low pay-per-view numbers of Kovalev, Ward, Crawford, Triple G, etc., has Mayweather-Pacquiao destroyed boxing in the US? Pretty strong stuff there, Dave.
I think maybe it has. Destroyed kind of implies that it's impossible to put it back together. And I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I still have somewhat of hope, but it really is in the shitter right now. It's awful. And Pacquiao-Mayweather certainly didn't help Floyd's entire legacy on the sport, which is now clearly affecting Canelo and how he does business. Canelo freely admits that. It's just, the sport is fucked right now. It's terrible. There's not much else to say.
Well, here, yeah, go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, Dave, it wasn't brilliantly promoted, though, was it, in the States?
Ward Pacquiao-Mayweather?
No, Ward Kovalev.
Oh, no, it wasn't. It was not very well promoted, I would say. I mean, only hardcores probably bought it.
Ward really refused to get involved in the promotion, did they not, for what I heard? Or for what I read, anyway.
I didn't follow the promotion either because barely knew what was going on. I barely remember the fight was happening until it was there.
Because I mentioned, sorry, Steve. I was going to say, like I had mentioned previously when the fight was first announced about Kovalev. I had asked that question. Kovalev himself doesn't seem to be like a brilliantly promoted fighter anyway. I mean, for a guy of his stature and like his fighting style and his mindset, I mean, he should be built up as this. So I don't want to use the word killer because that's the wrong word in boxing, but this monster, this ring monster. He should be kind of like a household name in the States, really, shouldn't he?
Well, that's what I was going to say, Dave, because was it to do with the fact, hey to Dave Lowback, that you had Rock Nation on the one side, Kathy Duver on the other side, no real promotional powerhouse like your Bob Arum, say even an Oscar or Don King back in the day. These two mainly, were they the reason why it did so badly promotional-wise?
Yeah, and it might not, I mean, it's probably in part due to their inexperience, but also, I mean, the big powers in boxing probably I don't think they would necessarily want these guys as competition. So, I mean, who knows what goes on behind the scenes? You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Top Rank came in, who knows, blacklisted them from certain media through various subtle wrenches in their plans just to prevent this fight from being seen, just to sort of lessen the impact of other promoters.
I don't know how much of a...
Dave Lee, let me just ask you this. Sorry, Dave. It was actually Dave Lee. This was a tagline by Joey. He just added on the end. He said, "Can the UK take over as the mecca for boxing and the place where fighters will come for the pounds, as Charles the Postman Martin did?" Do you want to have a word about that, Dave Lee, just before you make your own point? Sorry.
Yeah, I think that was asked before by one of our listeners. It's possible, but the problem is they'd be at the beck and call of US TV, wouldn't it? So, I mean, if US TV are really interested in the fight that would be on the UK would have to kind of both at the US TV's demands and probably have to fight on a 3 or 4 in the morning, which isn't really great either, like, is it? But I was just going to ask as well about the Kovalev Ward. Pretty disappointing pay-per-view numbers. I don't know, mate. Did the undercard play a part as well? Because it was for a pay-per-view a pretty atrocious undercard as well. I don't know how much of a factor that plays into potential pay-per-view customer buying a pay-per-view or not, but it was pretty piss poor, wasn't it?
It was shit.
It was pretty atrocious. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, the main event is the selling point for a pay-per-view blockbuster, but at the same time, it doesn't hurt to put on somewhat of a stacked undercard anyway, because at least then if the main event fails, you can always have a good couple of fights in the undercard, which will give you value for money.
It would also help actually if your main event contender actually even got involved and actually promoted yourself in a more kind of like, you know, fan-friendly way, instead of like moaning and just kind of face tripping them and stuff. And I'm talking about Andre Ward. I mean, fucking Kovalev couldn't carry it, obviously. I mean, the guy's got broken English, and obviously he's getting better all the time. But obviously, you think with Ward getting pushed by HBO being this like major, well, no major star, but you know what I mean? He gave him the big push, yet he kind of then gets, you know, basically refuses to get involved. And what the fuck are Rock Nation doing? You know, they're paying this guy $5 million, fucking, and then you get in pay-per-view numbers. What was it, 140,000, maybe slightly less than that? Fucking hell, and they paid Kovalev $2 million. I mean, they must have took a hell of a tanking.
Rock Nation sort of reminds me of Heyman in that they're very they don't seem to be very public with it. I mean, they've got like two celebrities running it, right? Like Beyonce and Jay-Z. Like, why aren't they using that to promote what they do?
The thing is with Jay-Z, man, I mean, if he's got 3 fighters, he's got the 3 worst fighters he could manage to fucking promote. Rigo, he never fucking fights. He doesn't speak English, right? I just mentioned.
I didn't even know he had Rigo anymore.
Aye, well, I'm assuming he's still got him. I mentioned there about Ward, obviously, and another person, you got Miguel Cotto, who's like, you know, the most durest motherfucker out. Although, for what I hear, there's a lot of charity work and stuff. You know, even back in Puerto Rico, they do not fucking take to him like, say, your Wilfred Benitez's and Wilfredo Gomez type fighters and stuff. You know, so. Plus, he's on the downturn of his career. You know, he's on the pension tour. So I just don't understand. I mean, as I say, it could be a little bit like 50 Cent. You know, you get a couple of supposed name fighters, they don't fight, and then before you know it, you're out the game.
Yeah, they're not boxing people, though, are they? You know,
it's a casual.
Yeah.
We'll have to try and get him on the pod sometime, Andy. See what he thinks about the world of boxing.
Oh fuck, man.
To be fair, I think Al Heyman's kind of a casual as well, but he's had so much success. I don't know if he's just because he's a shrewd businessman or what, but I think he's a casual in terms of matchmaking.
Seems to be able to talk money out of people's pockets, though.
Yeah.
Aye, $500 million. Fucking hell.
Yeah, talking about the money in boxing, we'll move over to Russia, to the Ice Palace in Moscow. Plenty of money floating about there. Denis Lebedev losing his IBF World Cruiserweight title to Murat Gassiev. Edward Troyanovsky getting knocked out brutally by Julius Indongo. Rakim Chakiev, my new favourite fighter, Mr. Vulnerable himself, getting knocked out by Maxim Vlasov. Also, looking down the card, Dmitry Kudryashov returned with a knockout win for the vacant WBC Silver Cruiserweight title against Santander Silgado. Plenty to get stuck into on this one, boys. Dave Lee, we'll go to you first. I got the times mixed up, so when I turned the Lebedev fight on, he was just standing there with his sailor's hat and his 2 black eyes, and they're about to announce the decision. So I made a bit of a balls up there. But for people like me who didn't see the fight, what did you think of Lebedev Gassiev?
I thought it was a very good fight. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. First couple of rounds, Lebedev was well in control. You know, he was just befuddling and Gassiev, who wasn't really throwing any punches. But from the third round onwards, Gassiev, you know, started to go into the fight. He started letting his hands go. 5th round, then I think was the knockdown, vicious body shot. But you know, it was kind of a hard fight to score in the sense that it's the old quality versus quantity. You know, Lebedev was throwing clusters of punches. He was very accurate, whereas Gassiev was throwing like single punches, but the single punches were much harder and much more effective. So you know, what do you score on? You know, I score on effective punching. And he was, you know, Gassiev was making Lebedev go on the retreat. And mentally as well, he looked the boss. You know, Lebedev was kind of throwing out a lot of, you know, kind of bad body language. You know, he was on the retreat. He looked kind of, always looked kind of weary and disheveled. And, you know, it was close. I mean, I did tweet last night towards the end, like the last 3 rounds, I thought Lebedev did good at what he was doing, what you would call kind of like old manning Gassiev. You know, just doing enough to, you know, kind of steal the rounds, you know. And you know, Gassiev, I was very impressed in the sense that it was a big step up from the level he's been fighting at. I think he's young as well, isn't he? Like, he's only like 22, 23, you know, only a young pup.
Yeah.
But he's not he's by no means the finished article. I mean, you know, he looked very one pace last night. You know, no real head movement as such. Kind of walks forward in straight lines, and at times as well, doesn't really put the foot down on the pedal. You know, last night I said to myself, if Lebedev did get the verdict, which he could have got the verdict, Gassiev would have been kicking himself because the fight was there for the taking for him, to really put his foot down and end any arguments about the verdict. But he's not the finished article, but he's still young. You know, there's still lots of improvements to be made. But hey, look, you know, Lebedev was, I think, fair to say, based on his past credentials and accomplishments, he is the universally recognized, or was the universally recognized #1 cruiserweight on the planet, and Gassiev beat him. So, you know, you can't say fairer than that. So, you know, I'd be very interested to see where Gassiev, where if he can advance, if he can improve. There's a lot of you know, things technically he can improve on, but overall I was impressed. You know, man, he's hard as nails. He's got, you know, good chin, very heavy-handed, and as I said, vicious body puncher as well. If you know, what is he now, 37, 38, possibly on the downside of his career, definitely in the twilight. So, you know, I'm not sure where he goes from here. He did keep his WBA title though, didn't he? If I'm not mistaken.
Aye, he did, mate. Aye.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a potential there for rematch, I presume. I'd definitely be interested in that. Be interested to see, you know, if Lebedev can make adjustments, or if Gassiev can even improve further on what he did last night. But yeah, definitely, you know, very good fight. And if you haven't seen it, you know, definitely check it out.
Just looking down the rest of the card, Dave, before you disappear too quickly, what else stood out for you? The Troyanovsky knockout was some turn up for the books.
Yeah, that was a big shock. Reminded me somewhat of the Stevenson Dawson knockout.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, really just lights out shot. Came out of nowhere. Definitely wasn't expecting that. But I suppose Troyanovsky he has kind of showed like vulnerabilities in the past, hasn't he? And you know, reared their head again last night. That I didn't see much of the other undercard, to be honest with you, so I can't really comment on it. But yeah. So.
Andy, work away.
Well, for the Lebedev fight, I pretty much endorse everything that Dave's just said there. I'd went away and had a wee look at Gassiev during the week and stuff, because a couple of guys were asking me what did I think about the fight, because I obviously wanted to bet on it. And as I say, one of the main things I looked at Gassiev was was his work rate. It just wasn't all that great. And I did think that maybe Lebedev's experience would be the telling factor to get him through the fight. I personally had Gassiev winning the fight by a point, purely on the knockdown, 114, 113. But as I say, the thing with Gassiev is all his output wasn't all that great. When he did land shots and stuff, there were the heavier punches. Lebedev, as usual, you know, tough beard. He just didn't look comfortable going on that back foot. I did think he started the fight pretty well. You know, got a good jab going the first couple of rounds. You know, nice restart. But then, you know, Gassiev seemed to then kind of, you know, I thought he found a wee bit kind of rhythm in the third round. He started kind of landing more heavier shots, and you just don't know. I know Lebedev's 37 and he's tough as nails. You just wonder if the sole reason that he just couldn't really get into that fight was purely on the knockdown. It maybe just sucked all the air out of him, and it was just like a matter of survival. You know, some people would say that you kind of maybe old man them sometimes during the fight, maybe because some of the rounds were pretty close. It was a close fight. You know, maybe a point or two either side. I wouldn't have much dispute about it. I would probably say as well as, you know, it's probably he's safeguarded his position somewhat as well by asking the WBA to kind of take the title off the line. It didn't really kind of smack at any confidence there, actually, if that's the case, if he's worried about losing his title. But it still keeps him in the picture, so to speak, even though the WBA are a fucking disgrace. Some people are talking about, you know, putting this in for Fight of the Year candidate. I'll probably need to go back and re-watch it again. As I said last night, I was on the bevy, so maybe I'm getting a wee bit kind of carried away, so I'll need to go back and watch it before I can even say that. But a rematch, I'm not really over enamoured for, no, honestly. I did think, well, maybe you could get it, I suppose, but I don't think there's any really immediate need for it. I like to see Lebedev in with some other bigger guys as well before he gets too old. On the undercard, you say that, you know, the Troyanovsky knockout was you know, I think it was 40 seconds. I think that was a massive upset. Kudryashov off the Russian hammer. Again, left hook, just basically kind of took the guy away from his senses. But I suppose the main talking point is going to be Chakayev. You know, I know he showed fragility through the pass and that, but last night, you know, it just looks like he's absolutely rigged. He looks like he's a club fighter. This is the next Olympic champion.
How is he such a good amateur, Andy? I don't understand.
I don't know, mate. I mean, he's the next Olympic champion, and he's fighting like an absolute novice. You know, balance was shocking. He was just basically, you know, I agree with what Paul Smith was saying. Is when the guy got hurt, he's trying to kind of then fight himself back into the round. I remember that with the Lebedev fight. You know, he was badly hurt in certain situations. I don't know why he just didn't take a step back and just kind of try and regroup. But, you know, he's lost the round. just get back to the corner, regroup, and then come back out. But no, I mean, Jesus Christ. And I suppose that was a crossroads fight for both fighters. Vlasov, I suppose, will get himself into a world title shot of sorts. Although he beat Silla in that, but he's lost to Gilberto Ramirez. I think it was like a catchweight, that one. And he's lost to Isaac Chilemba in the past, so that's, it's no like poor opponents he's lost to as such. But Chakaev, as I says, I think that's him done, especially around about fringe world title level or something like that. I mean, I wouldn't even call the guy a gatekeeper just now. That's how poor he looked last night. Absolutely fucking shocking. And the thing is, it's a guy who obviously kind of just relies on his power, because he almost turned it round a bit. I think it was a body shot, actually, a right hand to the pit of the stomach. But the boy, Vlasov, picked himself up straight back into the fight, and you could just tell that he wasn't going to be denied. I mean, he was just far stronger, far crisper, and even kind of a bit more refined. But Chakaev was he was just like a barroom drunk.
One man who loves a good Russian card is our very own official voice, Dave the Hater Lowback. Feel free to speak about whatever you want, Dave, but I know that the Chakaev fight, you enjoyed that one, and especially the Julius Indongo. I believe you're buzzing about the future prospects of this guy.
Well, he is 33 years old. I had a quick look at his resume. He's fought basically nobody except Kaiser Mabuza, who was a force a couple of years ago. He obliterated Kendall Holt and gave Zab Judah some problems before he got sparked. But wow, what a perfect shot. And the guy is long and big for the weight. He's 33, so you'd think he's not got much time left. Of course, Troyanovsky's 36. He's got even less time left. I think they might want to make the rematch just to erase that as quick as they can. If possible. I don't know if you can even beat this guy. But Indongo, I'm excited. Like I was talking about like 2 weeks ago about how I like African fighters and how I root for them. Finally, we get an African, gets a nice big win on the big stage. And I got to give props to the Russians, because they sometimes pull over these guys who, more so than Eddie Hearn at least, you see these upsets from guys they pull over to lose. So I don't know if they're just less competent than Eddie Hearn, or if they're actually interested in making some good fights, because they frequently have some good cards, and that was a stacked card last night for sure, and had several good fights on it. We saw it with Duradola smashing Kudryashov, and again we saw it last night with. It
was a mad fight, that one.
Indongo smashing Troyanovsky, who was actually receiving some hype from Andy, I believe, a few months ago. But yeah, good win for him. Hopefully he continues to stay active. Hopefully they don't just try to phase him into Bolivian, as Mike Tyson would say. But as far as Chakaev, I mean, he's made of glass, and that dude, he has the worst style. I mean, if it's fun to watch, but he just loads up and swings for the fences, misses almost every shot. I mean, it looks like he's a bum out of the pub. I mean, he somehow won a gold medal. I never saw that fight or saw that noticed what he did in that. I've never seen what the fuss was about this guy. I guess he punches hard, so there's that. But we've seen this guy. He has no chin. We saw him decked cold by a glancing punch from what's his name? That British guy who's retired.
Chakaev, who did he fight? Afolabi?
Afolabi, yeah.
Oh, he got knocked out in 5 rounds, aye.
Yeah, and that punch didn't even like land flush. It was just like a glancing shot, and he was face down. So again, he gets raped. It was a fun fight though, so he sees value for money, even if he's just going to take a bunch of L's. But
Dave,
overall,
just going back to Troyanovsky briefly, Dave, I was going to ask you actually, our cynical friend, the Box Bet Beast, who often asks questions, is asking you this one. He says, how long before we hear Indongo tested positive for PEDs after the knockout win?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all, and it'll come out from the Russian Commission, and they'll try to get it overturned, but then the sanctioning bodies won't do it.
Remember the fight with Duradola, remember when he knocked out Kudryashov?
Yep.
Surprised Olaf Afolabi never tested positive as well after that Chakaev defeat, or win, sorry, I should say.
And some say they arranged for Lucas Brown to test positive, though of course he managed to pop positive again since then, somehow. So who knows? It's just there's so much impenetrable bullshit going on in boxing that you can speculate all you want, but for most of the situations, you'll never know. Of course, I did think we would never know whether Oscar's fishnet pictures were real. I just figured we'd just go down as one of boxing's possible legends, but then he came out and admitted it. So, who knows? Maybe some Russian will be going through rehab someday and forced to confront his demons and admit it on a live interview that they arranged Radilla's drug test. But I doubt it.
Just moving back to the cruiserweight action, we have the heavy hitter on the line himself, Mr. Amir Khan, ready to drop some truth bombs on a Sunday evening. Amir, I believe you want to come on and talk about the upcoming Haye Bellew fight, March the 4th next year. You're a big Bellew fan. Do you reckon Big Tone's going to do the business?
I think Tony's going to win, yeah, definitely. I'm going to put my house on it. No, I just think it's a complete mismatch. I think Hearn's just wanting the pound notes. You've had Golovkin, Kelbrook. You've had who else got beat recently? That young Charlie Edwards. He was
Yes.
too deep. Got Calgary 5 fighting that top dude on the 10th.
Concepcion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now you've got this, which I think is a complete mismatch. I can only see it going one way. I mean, I was looking at the head-to-head. Did you guys see that? I didn't
No, I
even
haven't
see Haye's
seen it.
punch. It was so fast, I completely missed it. I had to watch it back 10 times.
See it at the time either, but look, there are photos going around. You can see he landed the swift left hand. That's the best fight he's been involved in a couple of years, hey?
That's been since the Jora fight in the press conference.
He definitely landed it. Tony had a red mark on his face, and he was a bit shook up, I think. You can say that they're both the same size. They both chat a load of shit. They both sell a lot of tickets, I think. Who would you say is getting the bigger deal out of the two in money terms? I think Haye's probably getting the bigger piece.
I would say Haye myself. Anybody else want to weigh in? Who's getting the best? I would say to bring Haye to the table, they're going to have to be paying him the big bucks, aren't they?
Oh, definitely, mate. As I say, I didn't really like to get myself involved in this because I would probably say, well, as I say, it's going to be mega millions. Everybody in the sport, I've seen Dooku Promotions who did Joe Parker basically talking about it. That's going to do, it's basically a business fight. Everybody involved gets paid. Haye, obviously, Bellew kind of gets his cash out fight, and Eddie Hearn has lobster and fucking caviar for Christmas again.
What if it goes past 3-4 rounds? Then it might get exciting.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that actually, Amir. If you were in Tony's corner, say you were Dave Caldwell, what would you be advising him to do? Try and run like hell, like he did against Stevenson for the first 6, and try and take Haye into areas that his stamina might not be too comfortable with?
Yeah, definitely. If you think about it, Chisora went head on. He got took out. Audley Harrison tried to run away, but he got caught. Klitschko kind of ran away, but kind of didn't. Used his brain to win. Actually, no. Thinking of it, Klitschko were just bashing Haye around, weren't he? Haye were running in that fight.
Haye won very little of the rounds in that fight, from what I remember.
I don't think he won any rounds.
No.
I think he might have got the last 2 from memory.
Well, here, Amir, let me ask you this question. We had a question in from Tommy Roosh, actually, and I've saved it for you. I've even written your name next to this one. It says, the consensus on the pod is that Haye versus Bellew is a total mismatch and a waste of time. We've pretty much just said that ourselves. But if you replace Bellew with Usyk, what are your opinions on that fight? David Haye against Usyk, would that be more interesting?
No, I think Haye just punches too hard. I mean, what he did to Derek Chisora, I've never seen anyone do that to him. And same with Audley Harrison. I've never seen him being that. I've seen him battered, but not like that. Do you know what I mean? I've not seen him being took out like that. Who was that other chap Haye knocked out a few years ago? Well, the Welsh guy. Can't remember his name now. Enzo McAnally. Yeah, he absolutely demolished him, didn't he? Absolutely ruined him.
Yeah. That's going back a few years now.
A long time ago. You can probably say he's older now. He's slower, but he's not going to lose his punch, is he? He still can punch. if you think about it, Eddie could have made the Joshua Haye fight for December the 10th. If he really wanted to, he could have made that fight. But there's a reason for that, and I think it's because he knows what Haye's about, and Haye's just going to, unfortunately for me, knock Bellew out and then hopefully move on to Joshua.
Just before we're going to move on to the Joshua Molina chat shortly, so feel free to stay on the line if you want to. Before we just finish up with the rest of the preview, the reviews and all that type of stuff, what do you think numbers-wise the Haye Bellew fight will do? Do you think the casuals are going to lap this one up on pay-per-view?
I'd say so. I mean, I'm a bit pissed off that the tickets have gone really quickly onto StubHub, and I'll be probably streaming it myself. I think around 500,000. Maybe that's a bit optimistic.
No.
I don't know what you guys think.
Wouldn't be surprised now. I'm not the expert on the pay-per-view.
I don't think it'll do $1 million. They were shouting figures out like that, but...
For Haye Bellew?
Yeah. What do you reckon, Andy?
I don't know. I mean, what did the AJ? I mean, I heard the AJ did, was it 400,000 for the... Was it the Brazil fight? Was it the Charles Martin fight?
Yeah, and Haye's known, isn't he, Andy? I know he has a lot of disdain for the public, and he basically treats the public like shit, but they know who he is. They seem to want to see him fight. Bellew as well is a bit of a mouth, and they're going to be pumping the hell out of this on Sky Sports. I think Andy Coogan said he had 609,000 views within, I don't want to say 24 hours, it sounds ridiculous, but I think it was something like that.
I remember Coogan tweeting it out. I might have even seen it on Facebook. It's ironic as well because boxing and pay-per-view was actually ended after Haye's non-performance against Klitschko. It just shows you knew they're welcoming him back because they see the pound signs and shit. Obviously, I mean, it's all guesstimate. I mean, we didn't really get told as such, but I would say if AJ's pulling in something like 400,000 for a bum like Charles Martin, can you imagine what they're going to do with Bellew and Haye shit talking all the time? I mean, Christ, within literally half an hour of that press conference, you had the Independent, the Guardian, all the sort of so-called main broadsheets that were putting out articles on that fight. So obviously it's going to hit the mainstream already, obviously. So I think it'll do big numbers. 500,000 would be my bet probably.
Wouldn't be surprised, Andy. We're going to move on to Joshua soon. Stay on the line, guys, whoever wants to stick with us. Before we do, there was a fight on the weekend. I can't believe I even mentioned this, Andy. I didn't even know the result before we went online. Go on, we're going to have to do it, aren't we? The Clash of Champions, was it, or something? It was,
mate. As I say, I know some people were moaning about how we've not watched some of the fights on the Box Nation card. Actually, for my sins, I just seen it on YouTube last night, so I stuck it on. It was 3 rounds. Kubrat Pulev against Sam Peter. Pulev 252 and 3/4 pounds. Sam Peter 271 pounds. Looked very much everything at that 271 pounds. He was basically a fat bastard. I mean, it was just basically it was an advert for a walking heart attack. Actually, gut, beer belly. I mean, it wasn't a 6-pack. It was a fucking crate he had there. It was just it was awful. It was just Pulev would have been better off working on a heavy bag. It looked like Peter then tried to pull out the fight or quit in the fight. After the 3rd round, he started hanging over the top rope with I think it was his right arm hanging loose and stuff. Obviously claiming about a shoulder injury and stuff. And then when the link cut back in again, it was just before the 4th round. The fight was over. So he's basically either bailed or he's been pulled out of the fight. It was awful. As I say, he would have been better just fighting a sparring partner than Sam Peter. Absolutely disgraceful.
Disgraceful stuff as we expected. One fight we mentioned last week going on in the Holiday Inn in Johnson City, Tennessee. I know everybody wants to know what happened here. Alonzo Butler against Fred Latham. Just go through it very briefly again. It was for the vacant USA Tennessee state title, vacant Universal Boxing Federation Intercontinental title, the vacant WBC United States title, and the vacant Global Boxing Council Intercontinental Heavyweight title. 4 brilliant belts on the line. And who won it, you might ask? It ended up in a draw. So those illustrious belts aren't going to be going home to anybody over the weekend, unfortunately. Right, there were wins for Tevin Farmer, Ashley Theophane. I think Vincent Fagenbut's got a win over the weekend. Anybody on the panel, open season, if you want to talk about anything I might have missed over Saturday or Sunday.
Richard Comey, apparently. I seen Shavakov win a split decision. 116, 112, 115, 113, but Adelaide Bird had it 116, 112 to Comey. I've got the fight. I started to watch it, but I thought I was reading on Twitter and I was asking the question to people. Shavakov apparently won that fight hands down, and Bird again handing in shocking scorecards. Is this true? Nobody watched it, I'll take it.
No.
I wish I watched it because I like Comey, but I'm kind of pissed that he lost.
So that's it anyway. Split decision victory for Shavakov. I think it's for some sort of an eliminator spot. I think it was like for an IBF #1 spot or something like that in the rankings.
We had a message on the Facebook page earlier. Our friend James Joyce, he's always going on about the guru. He said, after watching tonight's boxing, as in the Billy Joe Saunders fight, it is clear to me that I need a new hobby. The asylum slabberers are the only thing keeping me interested in the game right now. So glad to hear that we're keeping somebody in the game. And a question from Ruben Hemmings. I'm going to hit you with this one, Dave Lee. He said, what fighters in history do you feel you haven't seen enough of? Or notice in history do you feel you haven't seen enough of or know about? That question from Ruben, Dave. I'm just going to add in my own one. I must admit, to my disgrace and shame, I had never really seen a great deal of Julio Senior, so I've been rectifying that on YouTube recently. I'm currently watching the Hector Camacho fight in work, a couple of rounds each day. I've always heard about it, never sat down and watched these fights in full. And another one, Dave, that Andy was telling me about for ages, and I never got around to watching him. Recently watched the Absolute Belter. Anyone for you, Dave Lee?
Sorry, Steve, you're asking me if past great, so I haven't seen enough of, is it?
Yeah, who you haven't seen enough of or feel that you don't know enough about, and you probably should.
Just thinking off the top of my head here. Probably, who was the Brazilian fighter? Eder Joffrey, was it?
Oh,
yes.
aye. He fighting
I haven't seen enough of him. I've read a lot about him. You know, he's supposed to be a huge puncher and stuff. You know, he's always thereabouts in the ranking, like one of the top 100 fighters. Like, you know, but I haven't seen enough of him, to be honest with you.
One fighter I would probably say would be, well, two fighters. The welterweight Sugar Ray Robinson. I think there's video kicking around, but you need to go to some archives and pay for it. The other one, obviously, there's no fight footage of Harry Greb. Obviously, there's been a lot written about these guys and stuff, but it would be, it'd be really nice just to kind of like sit and watch and kind of judge for yourself and that, because obviously you're taking it off people's opinions and newspaper reports and people who's researching it and stuff. So with guys like Harry Greb, who there's no really any fight footage of.
Need a time machine.
Andy, did you say that there's some sort of footage of Robinson at welterweight around somewhere?
Yeah, but as it says, it's on like old film and stuff, and you would probably need to buy it off like collectors, and that would cost a fair penny, like for what I hear.
But there is somebody in the world that has it.
Apparently so. As I say, it's I don't know if it's just speculation, or if it's somebody that on the wind up. But what I understand, there is meant to be some sort of film kicking around, as I says. But you know, welterweight Ray Robinson was meant to be like the quintessential fucking fighter ever.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I always thought that there was none. I didn't know that there might be.
Funny enough, actually, just when you mention that, actually, I forget when I read it, but I read a comment about Nate Fletcher actually back around about 90. I forget when it was. He actually ranked all his top 5 welterweights of all time, and guess where he ranked Ray Robinson?
He didn't even put him in.
Number 4.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, I knew it wasn't very high.
Quick.
Number 4.
Yeah, well, that's what they always like. I mean, usually people, it's difficult to judge them and because he compiled that list like when Sugar Ray Robinson was still fighting, right? I mean, so usually they tend to discount active fighters in favor of the fighters that they watched growing up or the generation before.
In case you didn't know it, guys, that's Donny Baseball. He's jumped on the line with us. Just to remind you, we also have Dave Lee, Amir Khan's knocking about, Dave Lobach, Andy Patterson. So I'm like the president, I'm going to go straight into the AJ Molina chat, and the reason for that being we have one of our listeners on the line, Mr. Richard Allen, has joined us. He's actually going to the fight next week. He's driving home, and hopefully his Wi-Fi is going to be holding up. Richard, quick sound check. How are you doing?
He's on mute.
He's on mute.
Since so far.
You're on mute, Richard.
Self and give us a shout out. He's maybe struggling to unmute himself while he's driving. He's probably veering across the lanes as we speak.
Oh, there he goes.
Hear me now?
Yeah, Richard, can you hear me?
Yes, hear me.
Yeah, go ahead. Right, talk to us about AJ Molina.
I don't know, well, I think he had Smino on one of his earlier fights last year. And I'm only really going because, well, so it's a one time I think I'll be able to afford it. Yeah, it's one of our biggest heavyweights. I don't know how big or great it's going to be. It's probably not the heavyweight championship in the world. It's a heavyweight championship in the world. It's on the doorstep. Yeah, well, good reason to get the beer, really, like everybody else.
What do you think about the fight itself? Do you think Molina's going to give him his toughest test?
Oh, well, no, well, if you take the title away from it, it's probably his best opponent, which doesn't say much as a PE teacher on his 17th or 18th fight, but he should still stand there for 4 or 5 rounds, which gives you long enough to, have a few drinks and enjoy yourself. But I expect him to make easy work of it quite early on. He's plainly there for the comparison against Wilder, isn't he? So we'll just have to see what happens.
And what about the undercard, Richard? Are you looking forward to that? What fight most?
Well, I'm one of these people. I think the White Chisora fight will be a lot better than what people think it's going to be. I don't think Chisora's got much left, and I think White's just going to go in there like a bull in a china shop, a bit like the White he did against Joshua. The Afai fight is a bit of a sleeper, maybe. I think he'll get beat. The most competitive one's the first one tonight versus Buglioni. I'm actually quite looking forward to that one. I don't know how many people will be in at 5:30 when we got up, but we'll have to see about that. And I just hope that Dave Allen comes out unscathed. And, don't really want to be spending a couple of $100 to see somebody get seriously hurt. But it's not my card, to be frank. I don't know why people are hating on it that much. And it's just, I don't think you pay $15 for it, but that's modern life nowadays, isn't it?
That Ortiz Allen fight's actually an 8-rounder.
It's an 8-rounder.
Yep.
Oh, right. I'll be surprised if it goes forward, to be frank, but we'll have to wait and see.
Richard, stay on the call. I'm going to mute you a brief second while we get a couple of other guys in, but we'll be back to you in 1 minute, okay?
No worries.
Excellent stuff from Richard. We've got quite a few guys on the call, so Amir, I'm going to have to let you go in a second. Before we do, I would like to get your opinion on AJ Molina. Do you think it's going to be a blast-out job, or do you think Molina will come and have a go? Maybe that could be his downfall.
I think AJ's going to get put on his ass. I hope he does. I just think he hasn't been tested yet. I think he's had it way too easy. Hopefully he gets past 5 rounds, 6 rounds, and then we'll see. But I think it's going to be another easy win for him. I think the winner of Chisora White will probably fight AJ next. I think Hearn will try to milk that one out.
For fuck's sake.
Not that any of us want to see that garbage, but I think that's probably what will happen.
Well, I hope not. I'm going to bring Dave the Haye to low back in. Amir, thanks as always for jumping on, man. Speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Dave Lowback, you don't seem too enamoured by that potential Dillian White Chisora winner. Why not, man?
Well, who would be? I mean, maybe Joshua can fight them if he somehow gets sparked by Molina. Then people won't have a problem with it. But no. Is that even worth talking about? No. He should be fighting Vlad next, as promised, or as it's heavily insinuated would happen. Or he'd be fighting one of the other champions or former champions like Povetkin, Wilder, Parker. Wait, does Parker hold a belt now? I don't know.
No, he's fighting Ruiz, isn't he?
It doesn't seem to matter anyway, because the belts mean fuck all, as Glaskov and Martin proved. So yeah, fight somebody who's either Vlad or somebody who's fought Vlad would be good. Or Ortiz, of course, that would be good, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Someone who's fought Vlad. Eddie Hearn will pull out Sam Peter.
Alex Leopold.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me about this fight itself, though. Hey to Dave, about Molina himself. How long do you think it'll last?
Well, we talked about it before. I think Molina's durable enough to go. I'd say maybe 4 or 5 rounds. If he goes longer than that, then I think it becomes a little bit interesting. He can maybe set up a counter shot and hurt AJ, because I think AJ is as good as he is, and I do believe he is quite good. I think he might be hiding a bit of glass, because I don't think Dillian White's that big a puncher, and he had him wobbly with the sort of glancing left hook just thrown off the back foot in desperation. Maybe that desperation gave him a little bit of a power edge on that shot, but still, I mean, getting hurt by a shot like that I think Joshua's chin might not be the greatest. Plus, there's rumors that he's sparked in sparring by Price. Rumors that he, well, I guess not just rumors, but didn't he go down frequently in the amateurs? And I mean, Dillian White whooped his ass in the amateurs.
There was a rumor he got knocked down off one of the latest Olympians for Rio.
Coley, wasn't he?
Coley, apparently, aye.
But I mean, a bad chin does not mean you're done. Obviously, like look at Vlad, one of the longest reigning heavyweight champions ever. So, but yeah, it is a concern, and I would love to see Molina land a good shot on him, just to see how he takes it. Would love to see him knocked out too, just to see the casual faces and the casual tweets. I think it would break the internet if he got sparked by Fat Molina, but.
Oh, there would be a parliamentary inquiry actually if he got knocked out.
Yeah, that's the kind of fight where they put some steroids in his drink. It's not really a great fight, is it? No, but it's not a bad card. I won't be paying for it, but it's watchable.
And we say that at the time though, the options were limited, I suppose, for the IBF. But at the same time, they had the Klitschko fight there. They can turn around and blame Klitschko all they want about the WBA title and all that sort of shit. Fight was there to be made. There's a Butler's away.
Fuck the IBF. Putting Gassiev and Martin. Fuck them for eternity.
Pretty poor. Dave's on a rant tonight. He's getting all annoyed. Richard, I'm going to bring you back in at this point. I'd like to say that hopefully, if you get the chance, you'll be able to come on next week and tell us what you thought about the card and what you thought about the fight itself. But just assuming that Joshua knocks Molina out, or at least beats him, which we're pretty much all assuming that is going to happen, where do you think Joshua's going to go next? Do you think the Klitschko fight will take place in April, as they're talking about, or what do you think Eddie will do? Richard?
So mute.
Yeah, he has to unmute himself because I'm unable to do it. You're on mute, Richard. I'm just wondering.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes, Richard. I was just going to say to you, we want you on next week to talk about how the fight went, and if AJ wins, where do you think he's going to go next?
The Eddie Hearn routes of least resistance to the thought. I don't want to half-ass anybody that Wilder's knocked over. You'd love to see him in there against Klitschko. I just can't see it. There's just too much money to be made knocking over bums, spreading the word before you spend loads and loads of money giving it to Klitschko. He's 41, 42. Every year that goes by, he's that little bit worse, isn't he? So I just think that's over 18 months away. I can't see that being April, especially when they say it's going to be April. When they say it's the next fight, 99 times out of 100, I think, as we all know, it very rarely is the next fight. Just going on to what somebody said about Eddie Hearn and if Molina was to win, what I'd love to see on one of these pay-per-view fights is Eddie Hearn camp, because if Joshua gets put on his backside or he's in a lot of trouble, the face and just seeing pound sign just drop out of his eyes, I think that'll be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, Richard, Deontay Wilder, I believe, has been brought over for the Sky panel. Do you think that could be a potential fight next or in the next couple of fights' time?
Well, he's a bit chinny. He goes back in straight line. I'm more likely to see that when he doesn't.
You're breaking up, mate.
Especially when he's not fight. I think he last fought 12 months ago. Sorry for breaking up.
He's the new Rocco.
He's been muted. Not by me, by Evil Donny. Evil Power Corporation Donny muted him right in his prime.
Actually, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry, Richard. Wait, no, get it back. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Richard, do you want to come on and make your final point, and then we'll let you go anyway and get on with whatever it is you need to do? This is great radio, isn't it?
Must listen.
I think we've lost Richard. We'll reach out to him on Facebook page because he does send us in questions quite regularly, and I will hopefully get him on. He'll maybe be in a stationary position next week and he can tell us exactly what he thought of the fight. Right, Donny, you've had your wish. You've got rid of him. I'm going to come to you next. Question from Irish Stoner. I think I'm only joking, Donny. You sent me this question in earlier. He said, with the Molina fight, has Joshua had the worst run of pay-per-view fights in the history of boxing? It's got to be up there.
Oh, it's definitely up there. Although I would think that when Tyson first came back from prison, he started off with Peter McNeely on pay-per-view, which, by the way, sold like I think almost 2 million pay-per-view buys. And then he came. Who did he fight after that? Somebody.
Buster Mattis Jr. wasn't it?
Yeah, but that was on free television. I remember that. That was on
free tier. Yeah, that's right. Sure.
Yeah. And then there was Selden. I think was also pay-per-view, and a couple of other like real bad ones. So his comeback tour, like he definitely, knocked over a lot of really weak fighters for a lot of money on pay-per-view, and just the fact that Tyson was back and people wanted to see did he still have it or not. He was able to get people to buy into that. So,
but his pay-per-view run after the second defeat to Holyfield was pretty piss poor as well, wasn't it? And that was
pretty bad. But not all of those were not all of those were pay-per-view either, because they were Showtime did a deal with him. So yeah, those were bad opponents, but they weren't necessarily all pay-per-views. But his ones, like initial ones back from prison, definitely were.
Yeah, Sky had him on pay-per-view over here though. They actually had Julius Francis on pay-per-view. They had Lou Severese on pay-per-view. They had Brian Nielsen on pay-per-view. Galata on pay-per-view, and I bought them all. Every single one of them.
Well, the Savarese one might have been worth it for that epic spectacle after it.
Oh yeah, John Coyle took a belt in the chin, and then Tyson went on his post-fight rant, didn't he, about eating children, non-existing children.
Yeah, so that's it's definitely up there, that's for sure. But I mean, the really interesting thing though is that he's been able to do it. Like I said, the thing with Tyson was that his appeal was that all right, he's back from prison, he's back, and he was this amazing force back in the 80s, and and then people still remembered him, wanted to see if he still he was a superstar. He was probably even more famous after he went to jail than when he went in. So like Eddie's been able to sell that to people, like sell these horrible opponents before the guy's even proven himself at all, right? So that's a feat in and of itself in terms of marketing, is that they're able to get people to part with their money before the guy has proven that he actually has the goods, right? I mean, to me, that makes it all the more interesting from a, speaking purely from a marketing perspective. As a fan, it's rather abhorrent, but he's doing it, and I don't understand if people keep buying it, he's not gonna stop doing it. I mean, they're gonna make some money, and as much money as they can before they have to take some big risks. Why wouldn't they?
Donny, if he hadn't got the belt, would you say that this run of opponents isn't too bad on the way towards a world title?
It's even then, I still think I'd say it's a little bit weak, but I guess given the frequency he's fighting, yeah, maybe I think I give it. Maybe the expectations are a little bit heightened once you get the belt. And if you just come from the theory that the belt doesn't matter, and that it just helps you, from a marketing standpoint, and it also helps you sort of negotiate concessions from your opponents because you're the champion now, and they want the belt and the recognition that comes with it and the power that comes with it. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad, but it's still not good. It's still not a good run of opponents.
How do you see the actual fight itself playing out?
Well, I think that it probably is going to be a mid-round stoppage, like maybe 6, 7, something like that. The interesting thing, of course, is that if they are looking to set up that Wilder fight, didn't Wilder take him like a long way? Like, was it like 10 or 11?
10, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. And so everyone was saying, well, Wilder, and of course Wilder got briefly shaken up by him too in one of those rounds, in the middle rounds. So I mean, I think that maybe if they are trying to set up that Wilder thing, which supposedly they are. That's why Showtime bought the rights to show Anthony Joshua's fights in the United States, because seeing as they also show Wilder, maybe they were trying to set that up. I mean, maybe he can make a statement here and try to put away Molina in earlier fashion than Wilder did, and say, based on sort of the common opponents type comparison, that he's better. Expect some Twitter trash talking, after that, if that happens. But that might be what Eddie is looking towards. I don't know.
Dave Lee, you're a great one for the wrestling parlance, the heel and all this type of stuff. So I'm going to throw this question at you from Rav Haye. He dropped it on the Facebook page earlier. He says, does David Haye have to turn heel in the Bellew fight to maximise the commercial gain from his impending fight with Joshua? It seems to me that the strategy seems to be, this is the strategy he seems to be employing. Is he setting himself up as the bad guy, knock Bellew out, and then the knight in shining armour, Joshua, has to rush in and save us?
Well, if we're speaking wrestling jargon, I think they're both the heels, aren't they? They're neither Haye or Bellew. I've said in the past I do like Bellew, but neither of them are what you'd call particularly likable characters.
Have you not noticed though, Dave, Bellew in his IFL London interview, he seemed to be taking the sort of moral high ground.
I did notice that. All right, yeah, when he was talking about his hospital comments and stuff like that.
know.
Yeah, so that was a bit odd. But I think Haye got. I mean, as much as I dislike Haye, I think he got the better of the verbal exchanges at the press conference, and he stuck it to Eddie Hearn. And I think was it Amir who mentioned earlier on? I think Bellew was a bit shook up by that slap come punch that landed on him as well. So I think Haye kind of got for scoring mind games. I think Haye definitely came out the victor in that one. As much as it pains me to say, because I just dislike the man.
And what about the Molina fight? Do you see it going any distance at all? Do you think Eric has a chance of wobbling Joshua maybe with his suspect beard?
Well, it's the heavyweight division, so there's always that kind of intangible quality, like what happens if the big punch does land. But, all things considered, Molina's been chosen for a reason, hasn't he? I think how the fight goes, how long it lasts, it all kind of depends on Molina's ambition, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, I watched I say I watched, I put it on in the background earlier on that the gloves are off. Again, once again, by the way, just as a side note, Johnny Nelson, just absolutely abysmal presenter and terrible questions as usual. Why is that man still employed? Anyway, Molina, I get the vibe from him that he's kind of like, maybe I'm wrong, and he might be able to prove me wrong on fight night, but he kind of has this kind of like just glad to be here type demeanor about him, which doesn't.
Yeah, he tweeted, didn't he, Dave, straight away, something like "Thank God for this title shot."
Yeah.
Must be earning a packet though, eh? Must be earning a fortune for this fight.
Well, I mentioned that when we did that midweek pod about the heavyweight division, Molina was a guy with no leverage whatsoever. He was just a guy gasping for a payday, and he's got one. He thinks now he's a guy now who thinks he's hit the jackpot because he's a guy who has no leverage whatsoever. He's come fairly cheap in comparative to other opponents that have been out there, and he's just grasping for any payday that comes his way, and he's got one. So I as to how the fight goes, my gut feeling is I think Molina will early on at least go for it to a degree. I think he will go to check Joshua's chin, but in doing that I can see him getting dropped heavily. Walking onto a big shot, and I can see him getting up and going into his shell and probably lasting a few rounds. Dominic Breazeale, who was absolute dog shit. Not to be too disrespectful, but he is. Lasted, what was it, 7 rounds? 6-7 rounds.
7, I think.
Yeah, 7. So if he can last 7 rounds, and he was like a sitting duck in that fight. He offered no offense whatsoever. I can see Molina possibly going, similar rounds as well. 6-7 mid rounds, but no more than that. I mean, it's a showcase for Joshua just to look good, and he should, in all fairness, do the business against Molina.
I mean, I do think that Molina will come to fight, though. The fact that he may have tweeted and said, "Oh my God, I'm so blessed to have this payday." But I mean, he also could be thinking, yeah, he's very blessed to have it. But at the same time, we're very able to, score a massive upset. I mean, he'd be a multimillionaire overnight because, he'd control the belt and he'd have the rematch coming to him. I mean, I think he'll give it his all. He seemed to really give a good account of himself against Wilder. Like, he certainly was trying in there. I mean, he's technically limited, but he seems like he's got a heart. So I think he'll come to fight.
Donny, he got knocked out in a round by Chris Arreola. Would that concern you?
Yeah, I mean, Arreola, but I mean, there's one thing Arreola can do. Well, actually, there's 2 things he can do. One thing he can do is make an all-you-can-eat buffet and lose money on it. When he walks in, they're like, "Oh fuck, profits are gone today." That's one thing he can do. The other one is he can punch, and I mean, he can put anybody's lights out with one shot. Yes, it's concerning, but Wilder can also punch like a fucking mule too. I mean, and he was able to last 10 rounds with him. And I mean, Wilder's got some serious power. So
I think he hurt Areola and then he got a bit reckless. Was that the way it went?
Yes, that's what I recall too. Is that he got a little bit too excited in there, and Areola's got a pretty good chin too. I mean, I know he got knocked out by Bermay and Severn there, but I mean, in general, he's always been known to be very durable. So guys have thought that they've had Areola hurt before, and then they find out that power is still very much there coming back at them. But the fact that he got stopped by Areola doesn't really concern me. I mean, it's boxing, and particularly it's heavyweight boxing. Anybody against a big power puncher can get their lights turned out. So the fact that he lasted as long as he did with Wilder tells me at least he's got. I mean, he's not China chinned. He may not be granite chinned, but he's probably somewhere in the middle on the continuum, which is pretty much par for the course.
Yeah, Donny, I just turned your sound levels up a bit there. I know in the last few weeks, people have said they haven't been able to hear people very clear. I think Smido is one of the regular offenders. He comes across quite quiet, but I am turning the sound levels up. But then they drop back down again whenever the person is speaking. So just a continuous thing, just to let everybody know that we are dealing with that as best as we can. We have a technical department on it night and day. Andy, question for you. Not so much a question, but a point. I noticed that there's going to be a fresh voice in Joshua's corner. The Team GB performance director, Robert McCracken, has jumped in as new, quote-unquote, head coach. You think now with all these fresh ideas and all these new techniques he's going to be learning from McCracken, we could see a completely different Joshua?
Doubtful, mate. So obviously he can improve in some stuff, I'd imagine, but I think we're going to see what we're going to see with AJ is probably, he's at where he's at. It says at the time, I think we did that, as Dave mentioned about the heavyweight show that we did, and that I'm not really too down on the fight as such. Simple fact is because I know, as I say, the options were limited, and for whatever reason, the Vlad fight didn't happen. The issue is it's on pay-per-view. As I say, I'm not going to spend too much time on the AJ fight. I think he'll knock him out, and I think he'll maybe do it early doors, actually. It really depends, again, how Molina approaches the fight. As I say, he mentioned the Areola fight. I know he came out early doors in that fight. He did land some good shots early doors. I think it was a right hand over the top. He got clipped when he just basically fell on his arse and that he just didn't even bother getting to his feet. So you just don't know if Molina's going to fold. I know he's had 3 defeats, not all by stoppage. So stands to reason that he might get knocked out again here. Joshua's obviously he's got good power. As I say, if anything, he's good at is the straight shots. If you master the straight shots, then you're pretty much going to you'll go a fair distance, I suppose, in the sport. The one thing I really want to get your thoughts on actually as well is the Scott Quigg fight. This fight that Scott Quigg, Jose since is it Caetano or something like his name is it?
Caetano. Yeah, I was going to mention. I was going to give you a fight each, Andy. So you take Quigg, Caetano.
Well, I was going to say. I mean, I was looking at this guy. Right, he's a super middleweight, 29-year-old, 20 wins, 4 defeats, no stoppage defeats, but 9 knockouts. 9 knockouts for a super bantamweight, right? You got Quigg, you got Sky basically saying Quigg's going up in weight, he's going to take over the featherweight division, but he's fighting a fucking super bantamweight. Right? This is a kid who actually wanted to actually have a meaningful fight. Eddie Hearn says, we'll get my meaningful fight, don't you worry about that. He then goes to Australia to try and get a fighter to come across who'd actually fought a week before, so that's not going to happen. So they pull on this guy. As per usual, maybe Eddie's not to blame, maybe it's Tesco Joe to blame for this one. He likes to kind of feast these fighters on these kind of blown up guys, etc. As I say, it's a shit fight. And another thing I also picked up on as well, Dillian White, Del Boy Chisora is actually a final eliminator for the WBC title.
Yeah, we mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
I must have been sleeping at that time when that was mentioned. I was like, I just read that there this afternoon. I was like, fucking kidding me. Dillian White is on the verge of a WBC world title shot in 3 fights after beating that bum, and he beat Dave Allen and then Ian Lewis. That is the equivalent of getting to a world title fight.
The thing is, though, Andy, if they nudge their way into contention for a shot at the WBC belt, are they any worse than the likes of Spilker and Molina and De Hapas, the guys who've been fighting for it recently?
Well, you mean for Wilder, like?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, Del Boy, well, they want to say shot as such, but he's way past his prime. I mean, come on. White, we just know isn't very good. I mean, he stinks the place up. He's not really exciting to watch, that sort of thing. At the end of the day, why do they guys want to fight Wilder. The biggest payday fights AJ for them, or even the Haye. I'm expecting Haye to beat Bellew. So the Haye and the AJ fights are the big money fights for those two guys. I can't see that Wilder fighting happening anytime soon. Now, obviously, if the title fight comes along, I know for a fact that Del Boy would take it. White, I think, is this maybe his last fight with Eddie Hearn? Is he re-signed on with him? I don't know. Maybe they go his separate ways after this.
Won't he? He'll re-sign, won't he?
Probably, aye. But I think, the AJ fight is the money fight. I think that's the one they're going to be aiming for again.
Dangerous Dave Lee, I saw you unmuting yourself there, ready to give someone a rollicking. Leading into it, tell me very briefly against Ortiz Allen in this 8-rounder, is it going to be a massacre?
Ortiz and Allen?
Yeah.
I think that's a deplorable fight.
8-rounder as well. 8-rounder.
I really do. 8-rounder. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw you tweet that as well tonight, Andy. Yeah, I didn't know that. 8-rounder. But I think that's a deplorable mismatch. I really do. You know me. I'm not a guy who kind of overstates things or exaggerates things, but I think that's just an awful fight. We saw Allen against Dillian White. Andy mentioned there, White's not very good at all beyond domestic level, and Allen found himself out of his depth at British title level against Dillian White. Now he's fighting a guy who we're led to believe is one of the premier heavyweights in the world. I mean, it's crazy. I think it's a cynical kind of fight in the sense that Ortiz looked, let's be honest, he looked shit last time, didn't he? And I think they want to make him look spectacular, and Allen kind of fits the bill because he'll come forward. Even though Allen's got a good chin, I can't see him standing up to Ortiz's bombs for many rounds. So Eddie's probably banking on kind of like a highlight reel KO to kind of sell Ortiz possibly. But no, it's just a deplorable fight. That.
What odds would you give on a Dave Allen win?
And a Molina win, double.
The same odds to getting 6 numbers in the lottery, probably.
3 million to 1.
He's not there to win. I think even Dave Allen knows that.
Oh, but it would be so good though. I mean, it would be better than pure sex. You know at a time when you're going to have sex for the first time with someone and you didn't really want to wear a condom, and you go bareback and you get it in there. You're like, oh, it's an amazing feeling. That would be the same feeling if fucking Molina pulls this off. Right?
Pulls this off, so to speak.
No, the reason I unmuted myself a while ago, Steve, was to say.
Wait. So let me get this right. So seeing AJ get splattered is as good as raw dogging it in the world of Andy Patterson.
Don't encourage him, Donny. Right, Dave, quick, save us.
No, I was just going to say, you mentioned those aforementioned opponents that Wilder had. I back all of them to beat White. I don't rate White whatsoever. I think he's very, very average. I've made him feelings perfectly clear about him before. And I think, I'll be honest with you, we're talking about like the end game being a possible Joshua rematch. I think if White had looked anywhere decent in his previous fights, he probably would have got this date against Joshua. But because he's looked so poor, even Eddie can't sell White as an opponent for Joshua now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but
I think if he wants to go, if he wants to go full heel, he can get that fight made. Just start chanting "White Power."
Oh dear.
He's going to need a big top win actually to fucking get himself even. Okay, I dare say AJ could sell anything to anybody, I suppose, with the casual element, but as a fight, yeah, I don't know if they could actually recycle that again.
It would take some doing.
Was that on pay-per-view, that first fight?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, actually did good numbers as well. I think, if I remember here and there.
I think that might. Now you mentioned it, was that the one that did the big numbers that gave Eddie the push to then go and make the world title? Aye, that might have been that fight, right enough. Aye.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know for discounting Chisora's chances. I know he's a badly fated version of what the Chisora we know that fought Klitschko and was robbed against Hellenius. But White isn't that good at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm picking Chisora.
You're picking him. Yeah.
Yep.
Because he's back with Don Charles, and I know Spencer Oliver, gave an interview recently. He's seen Chisora in training. I think he's worked in his gym, done some work, and he says he's looked quite decent. So you never know.
Here, Dave, what cruiserweights would you pick to fucking knock out Dillian White, or even beat him?
Dillian White.
Aye.
Well, Usyk obviously.
Usyk.
Yeah. okay, I don't know about Huck, but Huck's fought it heavyweight before, had a kind of like that white slugfest with Povetkin, didn't he?
That was a good fight. That was a good fight. That.
So
Bradis,
I mean,
Bradis would smash him.
Bradis.
Bradis would be kind of. I mean, what is White? 6'4". Bradis must be about 6'1", 6'2". Just the weight difference might be massive. I mean, what is White? 230, 240.
Yeah, but White's not great. Let's be honest. Jesus Christ, you might get even you might give Shumanov a decent chance. That's how bad White is.
How big was Walk when he turned his lights completely out?
Whack? No, it wasn't Wacky knocked out. It wasn't Wacky knocked out, mate.
No, it was the other one, Char. I always get those two confused. Walk and Char, both shit.
Manuel Char, the roid rage, the roid cheat, and that guy has got a chin of God, like, honestly, God. Fucking Klitschko punched that all night, he never even moved.
Yeah, he's a big guy, isn't he?
That was Walk, was it?
Aye.
Yeah, Char fought Vitali, didn't he?
That's right, aye.
Got the cut. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Char was supposed to fight here, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was one of Haye's pullouts, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Aye.
Wait, did Char get shot or something?
Stabbed, wasn't it?
No, he was shot in the
Was it
restaurant.
shot? Oh, did he? Right, sorry.
You wonder how David Hayes actually got kids in that. He pulls out that much, doesn't he?
We just lost Dave.
We've lost Dave Lee, unfortunately. Conor Ben's on the undercard. He's fighting Josh Thorne. That was the kid who fought Nathaniel Wilson on one of Frank's shows last weekend, I think it was.
Spunk of Eubank, yeah.
Yeah, KT Taylor against Vivian Obernorf. Marcus Morrison taking a step down in competition against Harry Matthews. Callum Smith, Luke Blackledge, very briefly, Andy. It's going to be a massacre, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if it goes 5-6 rounds, I'll be suitably impressed. This, I mean, again, we speak about Smith quite a fair bit sometimes when these type of situations pop up. As I say, he's been the world number one now for over a year. Why is he still fighting domestic level? I think it says its own story, actually. He should be up in levels by this point, preparing himself for a fighter like DeGale or Badou Jack. As I say, it's pretty awful, actually. But as I say,
this could be. Wouldn't this be classed as a step backwards?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I suppose the only fight I'm really looking forward to is Concepcion against Yafai, and probably less extent.
Yeah, I was going to say about that, Andy. Do you think Yafai is going in deep now after fighting a string of nobodies?
I mean, to be honest, this is his best opponent to date. I just wonder. I mean, Yafai's quite big, I think, for super flyweight. I think he's probably he's definitely going to bantamweight sometime soon. Concepcion, he's still a cracking wee fighter. I know he lost to Kudras. I think it was last year. I think it was, but he's been winning fights ever since then. Actually, I mean, he's obviously had the great fights with Hernan Marquez. I think he got knocked out in the rematch, and then won the unanimous decision. Went to Japan, beat Kono pretty comfortably as well. So he's probably kind of like, probably the best point of his career, actually. So it's not a fight I would take lightly. He is a wee guy. He will bring it. As I say, I just think that the fact is, I think I'm just checking now. Concepcion's 5'2". This guy's Yafai's 5'4". I don't know what the reach advantage is and stuff, but I do think Yafai will win this. Actually, I think he maybe do it on points.
Dave Lee, before we move on, final word to you. Hosea Burton, very briefly, against can't remember who he's fighting now.
Buglioni.
That's the one, yeah. That's a decent fight.
Yeah, domestically, that could be fighted at night, actually. I think their styles match up.
I was going to say that as well, Dave, mate.
Yeah, Buglioni, I mean, okay, we know what he is. He defends punches with his face, but he's usually in kind of like exciting enough fights, and I think that is the makings of a cracker. Along with, obviously, as Andy mentioned, Concepcion and Yafai. I mean, that's very, very interesting fight. It'd be interesting to see where if Yafai can kind of make that step up from what the level he's been fighting. I got cut off there, but I know you were talking about Smith and Blackledge.
Yes.
I mean, if Smith is going straight in with the winner of the Gale Jack, I mean, this fight is in no way, shape, or form appropriate preparation, is it really? For that fight, you're stepping up. Like, I mean, it's different levels, isn't it? Completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't see what Smith can gain from this at all. I mean, obviously just another defense of his British title, but in terms of like a long-term plan of fine-tuning himself for a potential world title fight against your likes of Jack DeGale, mean, it's different, worlds apart. It's no preparation whatsoever for a potential fight with the winner of those two.
Well, I mean, Dave, we keep calling for British. We want more British title fights because they are competitive fights. But I mean, not when guys are supposedly up at world level. We want British level guys fighting at British level.
That's it, exactly. You know, and I don't know if we keep on saying, blame Joe Gallagher, but is it Gallagher's call again? You know, should Smith be fighting someone better? I think definitely so. I mean, Blackledge, didn't he? He got stopped. Was in a round by Fielding, did he? Rocky Fielding.
Yeah,
did he stop?
I think he might have did, mate. Aye.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really bode well for his chances against Callum Smith, does it?
Not really, no, not really.
But yeah, I mean, it's a decent enough card. It's definitely not pay-per-view worthy. You know, Concepcion, Yafai, Burton, Buglioni should be decent. White Chisora, I don't think will be a very good fight, but I'm more interested in the outcome than the actual fight itself, because I'd like to see kind of Chisora pull off the upset.
To think every single one of those fights is going to be costing you whatever it is, £17 pay-per-view. You'll probably got that entire card 4 or 5 hours of complete shite.
What about Katie Taylor, our own Queen Katie?
Yeah.
Well, it's good to see her active again, I suppose. But as I say about women's boxing, I think if they want equality, if they want to be amongst the men, we should be fighting 3-minute rounds. No, this 2-minute push.
Yeah.
Same as it's one of my bugbears about tennis. That the women apparently get paid the same as men, but they play less games. How the fuck's that fair?
Best of 3 sets. That's right. Yeah. On the Quigg fight, a senior man, Cayetano, on the undercard to Pacquiao Mayweather. He fought Luis Santa Cruz. He's going to pose Quigg no problems at all, and he's undersized as well, which kind of defeats the purpose of Quigg's big featherweight debut. So yeah, I think that's the highlight of the undercard.
That's the highlight of it. Every time I keep flicking through the schedule, I keep on finding different shows that I've forgotten about. It's actually a pretty stacked weekend of boxing. We're going to leave the Bellew of the week right till the very end, guys, because I know that some people say, we don't like it. So then in that case, if you don't want to listen to it, then you can just cut off the end of the podcast. Donny, I want to bring you in. I need more Donny on this podcast. That's what the people are asking for. CenturyLink Center, loving that. Omaha, Nebraska. This is piss poor as far as I'm concerned. I like to see Terence Crawford 29-0 active, but why is he defending his 2 titles against John Molina Jr., who's pretty shit, Donny? Why is this happening?
God only knows. I'm just going to assume that it's something down to, the inability to get a better opponent, maybe. At least on the timeline or something. I mean, I'd like to see him fight some of the guys in the Heyman stable, like Broner, for instance, at 140. What we really want to see, of course, is see him fight Pacquiao. But, everyone in Pacquiao's, inner circle, nobody really wants that. Now, Aaron wants it because he wants to cash Pacquiao out probably and bring up his new star. But Freddie Roach says that he isn't keen on the fight. Michael Kantz, whose entire existence relies upon Manny Pacquiao keep winning and paying him and not retiring from boxing, really doesn't want the fight. So we're stuck without that fight, and Pacquiao will keep fighting the Vargases of the world or whatever. So really, he can do really is to go. Actually, I'd be interested to see the Tim Bradley fight, although Bradley will probably want a comeback fight first. But he really has to go and make some fights with some rival promoters, like some people in the Heyman stable. Supposedly, Bob Arum has said that that making fights with Heyman is no impediment now. Well, if it's no impediment, why aren't we seeing it? So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why that's going to happen. But let's be honest. Crawford's going to make some money here, and he'll probably pack out this arena in his homecoming, and have put on a good show for him, and continue to build himself up. But he needs to. Bob needs to reach across the aisle and get Broner or get somebody at 140, because there's nobody out there for him unless he can fight Pacquiao or Bradley. Maybe that would be interesting. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be, but he's obviously one of the top fighters in the world, and we just want to see his career not stagnate here, because that's always something you don't want to see when a guy's in his prime and he's able to do his best work, and then and then he ends up getting kind of plateauing and getting all of these fights nobody really cares about.
Dave Lowback?
I was just going to say, If he stops him, I think it's fairly impressive because John Molina is tough as nails. Broner couldn't really dent him or hurt him. Took a long time with Matisse's full power. We know what a big puncher Matisse is to stop him. Mickey Bay couldn't stop him. And talk about pure sex. When he stopped Mickey Bay in the 10th round, man, I almost exploded.
In more ways than one.
I'm coming.
if he stops him, that'd be pretty good. But yeah, it's a shit fight overall. I do like how Crawford's been calling out fighters not in the top ranked stable. He was quite aggressive towards Danny Garcia a couple weeks ago, and I guess Angel Garcia talked some shit about John Molina, even though they were about to fight this. I don't know. I can't remember his name. So Vargas Samuel something. I don't know. That guy that Danny Garcia just fought.
Samuel Vargas.
So just talking out his ass, and Crawford just shut him down. But I hope that fight could get made. That would be great. Maybe Crawford could fight the winner of Thurman Garcia. That would be fun. Of course, that would entail a step up to 147. Maybe a Lamont Peterson at a catchweight in between might work for him. Lamont Peterson's sort of hovering in between those weights right now. Felix Diaz, that would have been a better fight than this garbage. Yeah, pretty much most guys that you know the name of would have been better than this. But
actually, I was just thinking something. John Molina is with Heyman, isn't he?
Is
Yeah.
he?
Yeah.
He is, isn't he? I think, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you could make a fight with a Heyman fighter, why not get a better one?
But the shit ones is easier. Like Charles Martin, you can get your Charles Martins and you get all these guys, but it's the better ones you can't get.
Yeah, that's true.
Heyman will protect him. Heyman's going to protect all his guys from Crawford. Crawford is the truth.
Andy, just looking on the undercard, Raymando Beltran's back against Mason Menard, Shawnee Monahan, big ticket seller against Fernando Castaneda. Don't worry too much about any of that stuff. What do you think about Crawford Molina?
I think that's about the best I can come up with. I suppose it is poor. I mean, I had a look at the rankings earlier before we came online. I know Molina was he's quite high ranked with WBO. That guy Roscoe, I think, is he a top ranked fighter? Either way, I mean, if you look at light welterweight in its entirety, there's no really any big fights there for Crawford. It's just this is basically a stopover for him until he kind of gets the weight fixed and kind of moves up to welterweight full time. As I say, if they want to make the Pacquiao fight, good and well, I'll watch it. But as I say, I think Donnie mentioned it. I think it's the Pacquiao team. It's not really wanting that fight. Maybe too slick, too black for him, maybe. But one name I see kind of cropping up the rankings there is Jack Cattrall. I dare say people won't be too over enamoured to see that fight anytime soon. But what about? I know Dave's been kind of big on the guy this tonight. What about the guy won last night in Dongo against Crawford? That's another unification fight there.
See, I would love to see that, but I do think Crawford is looking to move up as soon as he can get like a reasonable name or just some sort of progressing fight. I think he wants to go up to 147, but he is
big at 142. I mean, like it won't even be, I mean, like it'll be a move that he can make by choice. Like he can continue to make 140. I don't know how the hell he was boiling down to 135. That really amazes me. But I mean, like he won't be undersized at 147 either. I mean. He comes into the ring regularly, in the low 150s. He was even rehydrating to that when he was cutting all the way down to 135. So I think that he has plenty of size to move up to 147. But I would like to see the Brunner one though before he moves up. That would be great. And I mean,
that would be hilarious.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I mean, the trash talk, they could probably even put it on pay-per-view. I mean, because Brunner could pull that off. I think they could. They could probably do that on pay-per-view, and that would make the money. The enough money would be in the fight to make it maybe worth the risk for both guys.
Yeah, and that might be a guy that Heyman's willing to sacrifice too. I mean, Broner's had his chances and he's kind of blown it. He's also a risk outside the ring. He's headed to jail half the time, so
yeah, maybe cash him out.
Yep.
Might be ready to cash him out. Final word to you on this one, Dave Lee. It's been the year of the shitty undercard, really. A decent weekend for Box Nation, actually. They're picking this one up, and they're picking up the Parker Ruiz fight, to my knowledge. I would have liked to see them pick up Charlo Williams. We're going to be speaking about that show next. Before we do so, the people want to hear what you think about Molina Crawford.
Just echoing what the guys have said, it's a very disappointing fight, considering where Crawford's at the moment. I mean, I was very complimentary of Molina when he upset Provodnikov back in the summer. Under his, he looked kind of like a rejuvenated fighter under his new trainer. It was a Suzuki. So I was complimentary of him. I was interested to see where he went next, but I didn't want him to be fighting at this level, at elite level, because I don't think he belongs there, to be perfectly honest. I mean, Crawford's like levels above. And on paper, it does look like a mismatch, not one that I'm particularly interested in either. But I mean, only one winner in that fight. Yeah, we know who it is.
Yeah, Molina's got pretty poor technique as well. I think Crawford will definitely beat him. The only intrigue will lie in whether Crawford stops him and at what particular point he does. We mentioned at the top of the show Richard Schaefer. I've got an interview with him. It's on YouTube. I'm not going to plug that again, even though I just did. Richard Schaefer for Ringstar Sports. Sounds a bit Yusuf Mack like the old Ringstar Sports, Andy.
Yep, and that should maybe have a bit called ring sting at the end as well. Listen, is he actually shaved himself? I actually hate that guy. He's a greasy, sleek, slimy wee bastard, by the way. I mean, I know there's no living businesses and stuff. I know, people, it's all cutthroat and stuff. But if he, as I understand it, he was really close friends with Oscar. He helped Oscar when he was still fighting. Get the money invested wisely, make the money work for him and stuff. And then when he's at his lowest, or if you want to say his most hard living, if you want to say that, I suppose. I mean, it was funny seeing Oscar the other day. They're getting a wee explanation on Canelo McGregor, but that's another thing. But to try and take advantage of a guy when he's fucking down, I mean, talk about no morals whatsoever. A guy who would actually stab you in the back and ride you at the same time.
I think he was Oscar's best man as well at his wedding and everything.
Oh, there he go. Says it all.
But I was talking to him off camera, Dave, and he does sound like a guy who's got a few quid in the bank. He said that he sort of sits around looking at the internet and smoking cigars in his spare time, and he has a lot of spare time.
Has the fat Swiss blanker put on weight or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this. I remember, Arama was called him the Swiss banker, didn't he? But I don't know him, but he just comes across as so slimy, doesn't he, Schaefer? Every interview he's in, this guy's a sleazeball. And I haven't heard. I mean, he's been doing the rounds with a lot of interviews with various outlets. So I haven't heard your interview with him yet, Steve. I'll definitely check that out. But he's certainly not shy of patting himself on the back, is he? I read his interview with Boxing News there last week, and he pretty much took credit for building Golden Boy Promotions and
but if you built Golden Boy Promotions, though, I mean, you're running a company. I mean, what kind of I know that back in the day, like in the 60s and stuff, fighters sometimes used to be promoted like fight by fight. But in the modern day, like the entire industry has guys like at least under multi-fight deals, contracts, right? And I mean, why would you ever promote people they didn't have under contract? I mean, it's not that hard to figure out the logic behind it. Is that when Oscar was spiraling down in addiction or whatever, and then like as Andy said, he was in the depths of that. He was dealing very closely with Al Heyman, as we all know. Heyman and Golden Boy were working side by side, and they weren't re-signing any of the fighters to Golden Boy contracts. And the reason why they weren't doing it is very obvious, is because the more people that they had under contract, the more valuable the company would have been, right? So basically what they were doing was, then they went to Oscar when he was like, just fresh out of rehab, and they're like, hey, we want to buy your company. Oh, what's it worth? Well, it's worth a shitload more than you think it is because you don't have any fighters under contract. In other words, they tried to basically buy it at a bargain-based price by intentionally not re-signing the fighters to contracts. I mean, it was a really nefarious move, and I think I don't know how they maybe settled it out of court or whatever, but I think there could have been serious money that Schaefer would have had to pay to because that's like a breach of your corporate responsibilities. Like, you as an officer, you're supposed to act in the best interest of the company, and he just clearly wasn't.
Well, Donnie, my new friend Richard was saying that there was no monkey business involved on his part, so I'm going to put this to one side in honour of my mate Richie, and let's just look at the fighters, Donnie. Let's look at the matchups, and we've got a show coming up on Saturday evening in the USC Galen Centre. Jamal Charlo putting the undefeated record on the line against Julian Williams, IBF World Super Welterweight title. Really looking forward to this one myself. and Jesus Cuellar is fighting Abner Mares. Not looking forward to that one as much because I think Mares has a bad eye or something, and I always find it a bit distasteful when someone's injured like that. We'll go to you then, Dave. Jump in and tell us what you're liking on this card.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I'd be very wary of Mares as well, because didn't the New York Boxing Commission suspend him? Or I think they originally cancelled this fight, didn't they? Because it was supposed to happen earlier in the summer, and the New York Commission basically said, no way, Mares is not fit.
Something happened, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to wonder where Mares is at, with these eye injuries, Is it another case, is it another situation like we had with Margarito a few years ago against Cotto, So, yeah, not too enamored with that fight. Charlo Williams.
Who'd you fancy at Charlo Williams, Dave? I was going to ask you that one. Actually, I'm going for Williams myself.
Yeah, I did think about it more, but it is a very evenly matched fight, isn't it? That one now should be decent. I'd probably lean towards Charlo, but it's a toss-up fight. It really is.
It's a toss-up fight. Official voice of American boxing, Dave Loback. That's exactly what we like, a good toss-up. Charlo Williams, Cuellar, Mares. Lipinets, never heard of him, against Lenny Zapovina, the Australian on the undercard. Decent card from the Snake.
I'm more interested in Fat Boy versus Joseph Parker. What's his name again? The fat guy.
Yeah.
Who looks like a 5-year-old.
Andy Ruiz.
We're coming to that one next, Dave.
Yeah, that's the best heavyweight fight this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know about Andy Ruiz though. I mean, it seemed like he would put a lot on his shots. Back when he was like 400 pounds, he had more punching power. He's gotten more active and maybe a little bit faster since he slimmed down to about 380 pounds. But he doesn't seem to have as much power anymore. So I don't know if he's as I'm going to have to favor Joseph Parker in this, obviously, because he's more proven.
Stuff, Dave. Brilliant stuff. But what about Charlo Williams, Dave?
Oh, which Charlo?
Jamal.
With the A. Jamal's the good one. He's the one who has like some decent power. Jamal, I don't like him as much, and he was outboxed by John Jackson. Had to use his left hook to bail him out of that. I like Jamal, and he has the better wins as well. I'm going to say Jamal wins this fight.
Dave's going for Jamal. Donnie, what about you? What do you like on the Schaefer card briefly before we go on to Parker Ruiz?
Well, Jamal, he does have a bit more power than his brother. And also, actually, I know Kurt always fond of saying that he, even though the division's theoretically loaded, he used to say that he didn't really care that much about 154 because all the guys are boring and they all have the same style. Well, actually, Williams is an exception to that. I mean, he's actually a bit more of an aggressive fighter, which makes this a very good contrast clash of styles. So this is a pick'em fight. I think that Williams is a little bit more exciting, and also I like the fact that he's one of the only fighters in boxing who does that, who's committed to do the 365 VADA. So props to J-Rock for.
It's J-Rock. Yeah, J-Rock.
Doing a commitment
to
I like
the J-Rock.
Clean. Yep. Yeah, me too. I like him too. A commitment to the clean sport. I don't know if anybody's doing that right now, but he is. And I do like the guy very much. And he is exciting. I'd like to see him win, but my head tells me that Charlo will. I just think that in fights where you have like his slick counter punching style, I think he's got a little bit of edge and speed. I mean, if you made me choose, I would choose Charlo, but Williams could absolutely win this. This is a good fight, and it will be exciting because there is a clash of styles there.
Andy, the boys are getting pumped up for this one. Hopefully we'll get to see it over here. I'm not sure if anybody's picking it up, but we'll hopefully find a download or a stream or something. What's the pick of it? Cuellar, Mares doing anything for you, or is it all about Charlo, J-Rock?
I think I've said before, pal, I'll not watch any of the Charlo brothers until one of them move up in weight, or one of them gets a different definition coloured hair or something like that, because I just can't tell the two of them apart. I'll probably will watch it though. I'm not really kind of too amped for it in all honesty. Hopefully Cuellar does the business, because that guy, it's been passed over a wee bit. I know the situation with WBA is an absolute mess and that, but if there is any fairness in it and stuff, that guy should have been upgraded to super champion. He was like the interim champion for a long, long time till Mahrez and Santa Cruz stepped in to fight for that title. So hopefully he does the business. Mahrez I've never really been a big fan of. I thought he was always a dirty fighter. I don't
was
really.
it Adbeko? He kept on hitting in the bollocks that time. Yeah.
I don't mind dirty fighters, but as long as they're cute with it and they've actually got a wee bit of ability and skill about them and that, Mahrez is just a fucking brawler. So
I remember when he went to that's by the way another episode of the long chain of events where Lawrence Cole has completely blew a fight, right? But I remember he actually threw like a fucking straight up 3-punch combination to Agbeko's balls. Like it was like boom, boom, boom. I was like, and he didn't get called for it at all. Like Cole just like looked the other way, like oh okay, yeah, a 3-punch combination of the fucking nuts, and like he didn't even do anything in it. Then he was looking straight at it too. It wasn't like he missed it.
Wasn't that Russell Mora?
Was it Russell Mora? I thought that was
I mean, it was Lawrence Cole.
Either way, it was one of the most hard refereeing performances I've ever seen in my life. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it was terrible. But I mean, not to give Lawrence Cole a break. I mean, he did the same thing in the Salido, Lomachenko fight. Yeah.
I'll always remember Lawrence Cole, Dave. Was it the Juan Manuel Marquez fight? Whenever he said to him in the corner or something, "You're way ahead on the scorecards anyway," and gave him the option to come out of the fight.
Yep. He tried to cover his mic too, and it picked it up anyway.
Good old Lawrence Cole. Right, we're flying through these shows, guys. Hey to Dave Loback, already tried to get us prematurely into this fight, but we're going to go into it right now. The Vector Arena, New Zealand, Joseph Parker, Andy Ruiz Jr. A couple of notes from the undercard. Jeff Horn, quite a highly regarded prospect from Australia, is fighting against Ali Funeka. Can't believe Ali Funeka's still going. Also, Isaac Dogbo is fighting for a couple of meaningless belts against Julian Evaristo Aristule. The reason I mentioned Dogbo, I remember seeing him fight first on a it wasn't Conrad Cummins, it was Mark McCulloch undercard in the Waterfront Hall, Belfast, many years ago. He fought first, so he's fairly made his way up the rankings since then. But don't worry too much about that, guys. We'll forget all about that. Between them, they've got a pretty decent records. Vacant WBO World Heavyweight title on the line. The fat man himself, Andy Ruiz Jr., got all the skills, maybe not the conditioning against Joseph Parker. Andy, I want Joseph Parker to win this fight. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I think it'd be a better for boxing if he knocks Ruiz Jr. out. Simple as that.
I can see what you're saying, mate. Obviously, he's a guy who kind of takes the sport seriously. He's wanting to learn. He wants to kind of move. Well, I think he stays. Well, he trains in Las Vegas. I know that much. Ruiz, hopefully he comes in decent shape. I really do. I don't know what his top end weight is, or what he's fought at in the past, but I think he came in at something like, was it 250 or something like that for his last fight? I've just got his record up here just now. His highest fighting weight was 292.5 pounds. Sorry, 297.5 pounds. That was for his debut. So you're going to be looking at, hopefully he's coming down to at least 240 for his big chance. I mean, I know he fought Ray Austin at 248, but you would think Parker, it could be another gut check for the guy. I think Ruiz will give him a bit of problems. But I think it probably says its own story that Bob Arum was the moment to kind of bid for the fight and bring it to America. I know Parker's people have managed to kind of get it on in New Zealand without having to get government financing. So, as you say, mate, the best thing here for the heavyweight division, at least perspective, is to get a Joseph Parker victory. I think the moves that are getting made behind the scenes at the minute with Parker's people is that the WBO are going to mandate that they face David Haye within 120 days. So that's obviously going to be getting looked at in the next couple of weeks, I would imagine.
Do you think, Andy, that Bob Arum is happy to send Ruiz Jr. over and he'll see who wins and in what kind of fashion and then try and pick up the pieces?
Aye, I mean, he was happy to send Crawford to Scotland to fight Burns. I can't think any other fighters who's done with that recently. But that's the thing with Top Rank. Top Rank are willing to take risks like that. I mean, Golden Boy to a certain extent, I suppose. But, no other promoter does it like Top Rank, And as I say, Andy Ruiz is a talented fighter. He has got good combinations and stuff. But it's just the fact that he doesn't live the life. I'm in total agreement with you that, the best thing, as I say, is here to happen would be a Parker victory.
I disagree with that. I think that being Joseph Parker is already a credible heavyweight in this division that we're trying to build back up after the Vlad era of just shit. Not all Vlad's fault, obviously, yes. But we're getting back to somewhat of a glory day with the heavyweights. I mean, we're getting at least more than 5 guys who are not complete trash, and we already know that that Parker fits into that contender status. We don't know that about Andy Ruiz. So if he were to win this and legitimize himself, I mean, the more the better, as far as I'm concerned. The more guys around top level would be better.
Donny, we keep going on about Ruiz's weight and the fact that Andy said that Parker's going to have a gut check. No pun intended. Does it really matter in all essence whether Ruiz comes in looking like a fat shit or not? Because we've seen podgy heavyweights in the past, haven't we?
The gut check, that was pretty good. No, we have actually, and I'll tell you the truth. I think the only thing that his weight really matters for is terms is really the stamina. I mean, if in a long fight that all that carrying all that weight around would maybe be a little bit difficult on him, but it also might help him absorb a little bit more punishment. And I mean, it doesn't affect the fact that he's got very fast hands for the heavyweight division. And he has good combinations. The speed, actually, I think, though, is his biggest asset. Fighting pretty much any opponent, he always usually has that advantage. So he may be a big fella, but his hands are still very fast. And that's why he's able to, to throw those really fast combinations and to land stuff, get in, get out. He actually moves his head all right. I mean, he's got good fundamental skills. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I know he's fighting on foreign territory, but I wouldn't be surprised if Aram's just saying, I don't know what I really have here. Maybe, he's got some talent. Maybe let's just go see if he wins something. And if he does, when he comes back home, I'll promote him, more heavily, especially now that he has a strap in a division with a lot of, marquee fighters who, can maybe potentially make a lot of money fighting those guys. So I think the fact that he's sending him over to New Zealand shouldn't be indicative of a lack of faith in his ability. I think he does have that. I think he has the skills. He has the athleticism. And if he could start losing some weight, maybe, and getting into some better shape, that would help his stamina in the fights where he's not successful in knocking people out. He'll be able to to churn on longer. But if anybody thinks that just because he's fat, that this is going to be a walkover fight for Parker, I think they're sorely mistaken. I think that Andy Ruiz is a very live dog here.
Dave Lee, you've lived through some great heavyweight eras like myself. You've appreciated the skills of Zuri Lawrence and Eric Kirkland and Joe Macy, to name but a few. Where do you think that Ruiz or Parker could end up in this mix of heavyweight luminaries?
I think Parker's got more of long-term prospects than Ruiz. I'm not a big lover of Ruiz at all. I think he's been highly overrated stateside. I've seen him a few times, most notably when he fought that what's his face, Rafael Zumbana Love. I think he fought him on one of the Terence Crawford undercards, and he went the distance with Love, and we've seen that chap over here. He got blasted out by Joshua in a couple of rounds. I mean, he's no great shakes. I mean, and Ruiz should have been dispatching of guys like that, fairly quickly, I think. I can't accept that the Ruiz looking like that is in any way good. I mean, no top level professional should be in that kind of shape. It's disgraceful. And I agree with you, Steve. I think it is better long term for the heavyweight division if Parker does come out on top here. I mean, as I've said before, I do like Parker. There is flaws. There's lots of things to work on, but there's also lots of things to like about Parker. I think he's got good shot selection. He's very fluid with his punches. They flow very well. And I know Andy's mentioned before about Parker's power. Is it really all it's cracked up to be? I think that is a definite question mark.
Yeah, definitely.
At the highest level, does he really carry that much power? It definitely remains to be seen. But no, I'd make Parker a sizable favourite in this one. I'm not a big lover of Ruiz at all. So yeah, I'd be expecting a Parker victory here. And interesting as well, Steve. I mean, you mentioned Ali Fenwick and the undercard. I mean, where did it dig him up from?
The literal bones, because there wasn't much of him in the first place.
Jesus Christ, that's a name from the past. But sad to see him still carrying on. But there you go.
What round? Just finally, each guys. What round, Dave, and what winner in the Parker Ruiz fight?
I think Parker would win on points.
Yeah, Parker on points for me as well. I just remembered that. I remember Ruiz actually went to distance with Sergei Liahovic a couple of years back. That guy shot.
Oh, God. Didn't even realise that. Donny, Parker or Ruiz, points knockout?
You know what? I'm going to go Ruiz on points. I'm going to pick an upset.
Ooh. Wow.
Well,
Going down the gauntlet, Dave. What about you?
I mean, let me clarify. I think he'll win the fight on points legitimately. Will he get the decision in New Zealand? I'm not sure, but I think he will get it.
Donny's putting in a disclaimer, Dave. There. What do you think?
Parker points.
He always fucking does.
I think he's going to deserve it too.
I'm going to go for Parker by 11th round knockout, I think. Parker by 11th round knockout. Right, we're going to finish up, guys. Thanks, everyone, for jumping on the panel. We're going to finish up with the Bellew of the week. Now, I've left this to the end, so if anybody doesn't want to listen to it, that's fine. If anyone's on the panel and they need to go, then feel free to jump off. If you have anything better to do, I'll just talk to myself. I don't mind. I've got quite a few tonight, but I'm going to rattle right through them. If we have any time at the end, I'm looking to finish about half. Then I'll ask some questions to whoever's remaining. It might just be myself by that point. But we'll get through the Bellew of the week anyway. Like I said, if you need to go, then feel free to jump off. Nothing, we won't hold that against you guys. Right. Nomination for Billy Joe Saunders' cornerman last night. I thought he might let him out of the cage in round 10. Who the fuck was that guy? I think we discussed that earlier. Nobody really knows what he was up to.
Deep breaths, deep breaths, deep breaths.
New Virgil Hunter.
I mean, there was no urgency about him last night, was there? I mean, he's like deep breath, and the next minute he's telling him in 12th round, Billy, you need to win this last round. Okay.
Nomination for David Skills. He said to O'Hara Davis, "You beat a future world champion in Scarpa, mate. The guy deserves a mean pizza. Keep your head up, son." All right, then. Boxing Kingdom, I am increasingly convinced this is a troll account. Billy Joe Saunders up by 1 now, they tweeted during the fight, putting in a Lomachenko-like performance.
Yeah, it's a wind-up. Got to be a wind-up. I couldn't.
It's got to be a troll. It's got to be a troll account, that one. This one was sent in by Rory McGonigal, friend of mine. He said, "I've just heard David Haye saying that him and Briggs is pay-per-view worthy, but only if the WBA regular Mickey Mouse belt is on the line." Gets worse, that fella. Bellew of the week for Paul Smith Jr. saying Bellew is the number 2 cruiserweight after Usyk. Didn't hear this one. I don't know if anybody else heard this one. A nomination for Dave Caldwell. Apparently he dropped an F-bomb at 7:30 on Sky while describing the lights on the show.
Yeah, did he? I never heard that.
Apparently so, yeah.
I had the sound in last night when I got in the way, so I didn't really listen to it. I heard it was Ed Robinson, though. It's actually it was a bit different actually compared to like the kind of hype that you kind of get. I mean, I think Ed just kind of let the action flow. They kind of chatted away in the background about technical stuff and that, but they kind of like didn't force a narrative on the fight as such. They kind of let the fight play out and maybe picked up a few good shots, not here and there. So fair play to them last night.
I have to say, I'm not even though I'm not really a fan of the multi-man commentary team. I do think they're selecting some good guys. I do like listening to Caldwell. And the other commentator they have, obviously Ed Robinson is very good as well. But the other guy they have as well, use him from time to time. Is it Andy
Scott?
No, is it Andy Clark? Is it?
Yes.
Andy, yeah, he's very good. I like him. So yeah, I mean, definitely the Sky have definitely upped their coverage this season in terms of presentation and stuff. Getting rid of Nelson and presenting wise anyway, and Halling and Watt. So.
You miss the old days when they would just be Don Dunphy or Howard Cosell talking to himself the whole fight.
Cosell was insufferable, fucking annoying piece of wank drip. If it was a wank drip, that's what he is, by the way. He was absolutely awful. I fucking hated him.
What about Steve Holdsworth on Eurosport? Did you like him?
Wait, who was fucking awful?
But Howard Cosell.
Are you serious? He's like considered to be legendary.
Yeah, but in what realm? Because I tell you what, that guy didn't know fuck all about boxing.
Yeah, but some of his calls are iconic, like the down goes Frazier and the
welcome along to this Fistigator. It's like he talks in full stops. That fucking
welcome, sports fans. This is Howard Cosell, and we are in. Yeah, that's right. He had That's
what was the
sound like Jimmy Seville? Now then.
What was the fight that disgusted Cosell? Was it Larry Holmes and Tex
Larry
Cobb,
Holmes
wasn't it?
against Tex Cobb. He says
Yeah.
He said, "I'm wondering
such a
if the
pretentious
referee
squad.
is conducting an exhibition for the very, to ban the very sport he was a part of." Yeah.
Can I just expand on what Dave just said there? Actually, I mean, he had the audacity, right? To fucking or the two-faced prick actually says, "I ain't calling any other fights again after this Larry Holmes Tex Cobb fight." But I tell you what, he was only happy to take the fucking money when Don King made that fucking heavyweight tournament on top of that fucking aircraft carrier. That was found to be a complete. Above board and fair rankings and stuff like that. But he was happy to go in the commentary team and fucking big it up and how these fighters were great and Larry Holmes was the next big thing and all that sort of shit.
Wait, when was this?
He actually hated Larry Holmes on that tournament. That would be about the late 70s, I would say. It would be early 80s.
Right. But the Tex Cobb fight was like until the early 80s.
No, what I'm saying is, he's going on about how that's a complete mismatch, right? That Tex Cobb Larry Holmes fight. If you go back to that heavyweight tournament that Don King put on EBC on that aircraft carrier, it was found that that some of the fighters weren't being slightly truthful about their ranking or about the records and stuff like that. But Howard Cosell was only too happy to sit there and big them up and all that sort of shit, and then take the fucking ump about how Larry Holmes. He hated Holmes, by the way. Don't get it fucking twisted either. He hated.
Yeah,
Holmes.
he did hate Holmes, but also too, he was starting to get pushed out of his other responsibilities at ABC. What actually happened there was
he wanted to be an anchor. He went to the anchor role.
Yeah, he wanted to be an anchor, and he was getting pushed out of some of his other responsibilities at ABC. And so he thought, well, the one thing that ABC likes that I really do is the boxing, so I'll pull out of that to sort of like, as like a protest. So then they'll give me what I want if I'll just keep doing the boxing. But they didn't. They didn't kowtow to him like they usually did. And so I'm not sure exactly how genuine his disgust with boxing was altogether. But yeah, you're right. So
it wasn't genuine at all. I agree with Andy completely there. Yeah.
Imagine how pissed off he would have been with Vlad.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, though, is that the one thing about Howard Cosell that I really loved was that he's kind of reminded me of like a Larry Merchant in the sense that if a fight was shit, like he didn't care what the network executives wanted you to say, like he just said what he wanted to say all the time, and so he'd be like, this is a terrible fight, and he didn't have any qualms about saying that kind of stuff. Whereas I feel like that, sort of, especially, a great example of it is the current composition of Sky, right, in the UK, where it's like there's no bullshit police anymore, right? Max does an okay job in HBO. He's getting a little bit more secure in his role. I think he's getting better at it. But, Larry was the best. Cosell was also, like sort of the bullshit police. Like they weren't trying to sell you something all the time. If it was bad, they just said so and they didn't care.
Yeah, notably, he shot on that fiasco where George Foreman went down to the island or whatever and beat up 5 guys in one day. Yeah.
So Steve, you mentioned Steve Holdsworth. He was the perfect example of that. That man could not tell a lie at all. If he thought something was absolute dog shit, he'd say it.
Yeah.
Even though Eurosport were presenting it and wanted to get as many viewers as possible, obviously, Steve Holdsworth would just tell you this fight or this fighter is absolute dog shit and you shouldn't be watching it.
Holdsworth was great because I remember one time he always used to try and pretend he was in the arena of whatever fight he was calling, even though we all knew he was sitting in a studio in London. He had Glenn Catley on. He had Glenn Catley on with him the once, and they were watching a Danish show. And Catley said halfway through, he said, "I've never actually been to Denmark before." And no, he says, "I've never actually been to Denmark." And Holdsworth goes, "But before tonight's show, Glenn." He goes, "Oh yeah, before tonight's show."
Who was the chap that used to commentate with him? He used to write for the Boxing News. Brady, wasn't it? Jim Brady.
Jim Brady.
Yeah,
so the late Jim Brady.
The late Jim Brady. Yeah. I remember a few times like he was doing commentary with him, most notably as well for the Tyson Border fight, and it was like they were commentating from a fucking payphone in London. I was expecting some woman to say, "You must insert 50 cents to continue this call," at any moment. Like it was just absolutely ridiculous, and they're trying to con you and thinking that they're ringside live in the MGM. Like, come off it, Steve.
The great commentators Steve Holdsworth and Howard Cosell. Anyway, we'll go back to our friend Connor Bogue, who tweeted at Carl Frampton this week. He said, "Who's the better boxer, you or the notorious MMA?" Which, of course, is Mr. Conor McGregor. Okay, then. Nomination for Andy Tarquin. Lucas Brown went on a bit of a rant. He said, "Fuck Twitter is just full of cunts who do nothing more than abuse people and have no lives themselves. It's sad what society has become." And Andy Tarquin said, "Innocent till proven guilty, my friend." Well, he has failed 2 drug tests, so he's sort of running out of chances. Like, Andy Tarquin.
That's rather hypocritical for Lucas Brown to say something like that, considering how much he loves Twitter. He's always on there. He's always twittering and retweeting praise that he gets. So
that is very true. He's taken on a bit of a following because of Twitter, and now he's cursing it when people say things on Twitter he doesn't like. In other words, don't hate the player, hate the game. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. He actually used to have a pretty nice Twitter personality and have a good sense of humor about himself. But, I mean, stop doing fucking drugs and maybe people will be nice to you again.
Stop doing drugs and people will be nice to you again, Donny. Donny Baseball hitting it where it hurts again as usual. Thanks for that, Donny. Bellew with an 8 nomination for Spencer X, Spencer Fear, and it wouldn't be the same without Spencer on the list. He blocked me this week, actually. He said Katie Taylor is the female version of Lomachenko. Kurt Ward sent one in. Where is Kurt Ward tonight? We were hoping to have him on. Ruiz Jr. is to fight for the WBF World title on pay-per-view. I think that's actually against Bobby Gunn, isn't it, Andy?
It is, mate. Aye, Bobby. Is he an ex-bare-knuckle boxer or bare-knuckle world champion? Am I getting that
he
wrong?
fought Enzo Macronelli back in the day, didn't he?
That's right.
Yeah, he fought Glenn Johnson, too.
Bobby Gunn's lawyer threatened to sue me once, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
But did you buy the pay-per-view or something?
No, I always buy the pay-per-view, Andy. But I had the nerve to write that Bobby Gunn didn't deserve a world title shot against Thomas Adamek, and wrote an article about it on one of the websites there. And 2 days later, I received an email from his legal team saying that they were concerned of the fiscal disruption, quote unquote, I was causing Bobby Gunn by writing that article.
Fiscal disruption.
I hope you doubled down and said Tommy Gunn is more deserving of a world title shot than Bobby Gunn.
But
fiscal disruption. It sounds like an illness, doesn't it?
But the funny thing was, at the end of the email, he said to me, "We'd welcome you to watch his fight ringside with us," and there was kind of like an implicit threat there. I didn't really like that.
Just basically stop shitting on this fight, and we'll give you some food and a good seat,
and a kicking.
Steve,
we'll bury you next to Jimmy Hoffa.
Steve, why did
yes?
Why did Spencer block you for?
Spencer blocked me because it was O'Hara Davis was calling out Spencer's boxing record, and I retweeted him and put burn and a couple of little emoji flames, and he took exception. But I liked the direct nature of O'Hara Davis's tweet.
Was that a KKK threat there, like?
No, I don't think it was. I think he just took exception to me sort of taking the piss out of him. But, I mean, I badly misjudged the public mood on this one, Andy, because there's a lot of love for Fearon out there. I always assumed it was universally accepted he was a twat, but apparently not, because people were giving me grief.
No, I think what's happening there is that people hate Davis so much that they're going to take Spencer Fearon's side.
I see Josh Taylor's going on the act tonight. He's actually giving him a bit of abuse as well, eh?
Is he?
Why do people hate O'Hara?
He's just a big moofy prick. He's not done nothing. He's done nothing to actually justify the hype, right? He gets all these. He gets top billing on Sky and then doesn't deliver when he's supposed to. Josh Taylor would annihilate him, by the way.
I think he would. I don't know what Spencer's problem is. As a fighter, I didn't mind him. I thought he was in some quite exciting wars. The David Walker fight. I respect his boxing career, but as a pundit. Let me tell you, as a pundit, Spencer, he has this erroneous reputation as a no bullshit straight talker. He comes at you with the hard truth, but nothing could be further from the case. The man is a sycophant. He's a charlatan. He's a company shill. He's put on the airways to proselytise and propagandise the Sky boxing message. That's all he's there for. He's a master of misinformation and misdirection. That's what you are, Spencer. You're full of shit.
Give yourself a round of applause there, Steve.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, Steve, why don't you tell us what you really think?
Steve's really raging that he got blocked there, eh? Fucking hell.
No, I'm not that bad.
That's his Achilles heel, blocking him on Twitter and send him into a rage.
I've been blocked before. Scott Quigg blocked me, darts legend Mervyn King and Fat Dan. Many people have blocked me, but yeah, I'm annoyed. I'm a bit upset by Spencer.
It must have really hurt his heart that O'Hara called him out, since he was like a couple weeks ago saying 2 tanks is, and then he referenced some like great fighter. Who did he compare to?
Was it not Henry Armstrong? Was it no?
It was something ridiculous. He loves him, but now he's been burned.
Right, moving on with this, boys. Eddie Hearn has been nominated for claiming that Lebedev and Gassiev was a unification fight. And when he was asked why, he said it was because Gassiev gets both belts if he wins. He doesn't seem to understand that unification. Both fighters need to hold a belt.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, the same one from Thomas Joseph as well. He's been Spencer again for Lomachenko. Nomination for Johnny Nelson says Bellew has the speed over Haye. Nomination for Matt Graham tweeted at Anthony Joshua. I will genuinely get a tattoo of your face on my back if you retweet this, AJ.
Did they? Did they retweet?
I don't know if he did or not. To be honest, it's just a screenshot. We'll have to look. We'll have to follow that one up, Andy. We'll have to see if he retweeted him or not. Nomination for O'Hara Davis from my friend Joe O'Neill over at irishboxing.com. Shout out to Joe. He's a good lad. O'Hara Davis said that his WBC silver title is better than Josh Taylor's Commonwealth title, Andy.
Yeah, well, come on. I mean, fuck it. What is a WBC silver title? Is that an interim title?
Bullshit.
Fucking ranking, give me some money type belt. I mean, at least the Commonwealth title has been in existence since time immemorial, just about. Or well, must have go back to what I can think as far back. Correct me if I'm right here, if I'm wrong. But fucking hell, I don't know how far back we're going here. But at least the 40s, Commonwealth belt, WBC title, that silver title just came into existence there about fucking 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Look, there's going to be times when the silver champ is going to be better than the Commonwealth, and vice versa. I mean, in boxing, the only thing that real fans care about is who the hell have he fought. That's all we care about, and lineal titles. Sometimes, of course, if they are willing to fight their opposition, cough, cough, Adonis Stevenson. But I mean, that's really all that matters. I mean, someone said, "Oh, I got the silver belt." I mean, that's like saying, I got some sort of beads and trinkets or something that I'll sell you for $5. I mean, it's completely ridiculous.
Steve, as Jimmy McGee once said when Bernard Dunn won the IBC world title, it's not the belt that makes the fighter, it's the fighter that makes the belt.
Remember that IBC reign well.
I like that quote. That's a good one.
Right. Nomination for Danny Knott. He tweeted to Eddie after Eddie said 10 days to go till Joshua Molina. Danny Knott said, I love Christmas, but I'm literally more excited for the 10th of December this year. Huge day for boxing. Joe Fournier, I think he's the nightclub owner. I'd make 168 for Callum Smith. Bellew of the Week nomination. Boxing Legends TV. Eddie Hearn is a bigger name in British boxing than David Haye. And boy, is Haye jealous about that. We all love Eddie Hearn's interviews, for fuck's sake.
Casual.
Nomination for Boxing News 24. That's Scott Guilford's crowd, isn't it? For all the spelling mistakes in one of their articles. Nomination for Tony Bellew for we said this one earlier, for trying to take the moral high ground in the David Haye fight. Nomination for Boxing Kingdom.
Again.
Brook would fight AJ if given the chance. Facts. He's not ducking Spence, says the Boxing Kingdom. Eddie Hearn, how are we going to keep these two apart next week? 11 days to go till White Chisora.
Aye.
Do me a favour, as Frank Warren would say.
Exactly.
Now, this is a good one from Ryan Dins. He tweeted straight at Eddie Hearn. This might win it for me. Toiling for Haye Bellew tickets, mate. Promise the missus I'll take her. If I let you pump her, Eddie, can you sort me out?
And Eddie actually responded to that and said,
what did he say? He said, if you let me what?
Shag your wife.
He said he's going to let Eddie pump his missus if he gives him tickets to Bellew. Hey?
And Eddie Hearn responded to that, for fuck's sake. That's the winner for me, like hands down.
You can end it right now. Pimp out his wife to get a ticket.
Yeah, pretty much. Nomination for Sean Ingle of The Guardian for labelling Anthony Joshua the charismatic Londoner. Yeah, he's really charismatic.
Just don't owe him £20 by the way for a fucking 10 gram. Or £20 for 10 gram, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Just didn't be owing him money for a 10 gram bag anyway, put it that way.
It's harking back to that Gloves Are Off program that was on earlier on tonight. He's so media trained, isn't he, Joshua? It's just painful.
Yeah. I was actually listening back to one of the first podcasts we did, but we mentioned that about that. That it was actually me mentioning that this guy's been groomed along the same lines as Joe Lewis back in the day.
Yeah, it's a good point, Joe.
To a certain point.
Nomination for Fat Dan for linking to an illegal stream of the Flanagan Cruz fight. Good old Fat Dan. Peter Fury's got a nomination for his views on Orlando Cruz. He says, don't worry about my position, fighting men I want to see, not something else. And then he said, that's the difference between real men and half of something else, aka Orlando Cruz. Bit nasty. Frankie Gavin got in on the act. He deleted this one afterwards. This was quite a good one. He said, I have nothing against gay people. I have gay friends. But if I lost to a gay lad, I would get bantered for life by my pals. So Flanagan has to win.
Aye. I said that last week. I said that the week before the fight. Remember, he had to win that fight because he would get trolled to the fucking inch of his life if he lost that poof.
Peter Fury's gone a bit weird lately, isn't he? He's just tweeting like random nonsense.
Yeah.
Gifs.
I don't know what's happened to him. He's put some real funny gifs up, hasn't he?
Gifs that don't make any sense and are completely without context. I don't know what's going on with him. Someone should have a word.
Jamie Moore put in a good one, Dave. He's after the Katie Taylor fight. He said, "Great performance, Katie Taylor. Going to be a great ride."
in fairness to him, he tweeted it and laughed about it as well. Like, so it's good to see. Like, he can laugh about it, you know.
Yeah. Bellew the nomination for Ronnie Clark for his haircut. Yeah, it was a bit embarrassing. Dan Raphael tweeted something about the purses Lomachenko and Walters were making, and Ross Garvin jumped in and said, "What? Imagine that these two were on Eddie Hearn's show. Both would be making £5 million minimum."
Fucking crawler.
The Guru got a nomination. They're having a go at the Guru on the Boxing Banter page. Gaz May said, "Anyone who uses Guru in their name is just a twat," and he got 7 likes.
7 likes? Is that all?
Sorry, Guru.
That is Casual Central, that place, like.
Oh, they're having a go at Tommy at the moment, apparently. Talking to Casual Central, Andy, what about the mirror.co.uk? They said Lomachenko has a chance to join his fellow Russians, Kovalev and Triple G.
Aye. Is an American by any chance? Because you know the Americans are shit at geography, you know.
Well, Donny's just jumped back on the call. Chris Eubank said that his son can move over to UFC and dominate. Let's just see what he does in boxing first, shall we, guys? David Haye will fight Tony Bellew, according to Bet365. Who wins? Retweet for the Haymaker, like for the Bomber. And there was 185 likes to 138 retweets. So the Bet365 fans are casuals, says our friend Chadders. Don't worry, we're coming towards the end just yet. Tarak Bennett says that Ortiz is shit, Briggs would spark him. And, Joe Murphy, Anthony Joshua just retweeted me. Oh my God, my life is complete.
Fucking needs to go and get laid and have a couple of kids in if he wants his life to be complete. What a sad sack piece of shit, man. Fuck's sake.
Final one to our friend Jamie Foster Watson. He was on last week waiting for the Bellew of the week, but I couldn't do it because I had to get away quickly. And he said, Spencer Fearon, at Spencer, you are wicked at your job, man. Well done. That's them all. No, I'm going for Andy Ryan Dins. What about you?
Definitely, mate. That is a hands out the park winner, that one. Got to be.
Donny, have you listened to any of these? Do you even care at this point?
No. I agree. Yeah. Though what's his Mr. Dins?
Yeah. Pump his missus.
What's that?
He said he's the one who said that Eddie could pump his missus.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
Dave, any variation?
I think Dave was voting for Spencer, or maybe he's dropped off a call, but he was going to vote for Spencer, I think.
Is that me or Dave the Hater?
No, sorry, you, Dave, because Dave Lowback's gone.
Well, the Hater's gone, is he? I was going to go for that trainer last night. I don't know what his name was, but the one I was talking about, deep breathing, feints and all that nonsense. I think I'll give it to him.
We'll give it to him, but Ryan Dins is the main man, so well done, Ryan. That'll do, boys. I think we've exhausted everything. Is there anything you can think of, Andy, that I might have missed? Any Night of Champions going on next week?
I had a quick look through, mate. I can't see it, mate. It's going to be quite busy next week. Just to let listeners know, I don't know if I picked up Box Nation correct last night, but I think the Parker fight might be on at 8 o'clock in the morning next week.
Yep, it is, yeah.
So just to let the listeners know, it'll be up early doors. So for the Yanks, that'll be like, 3 o'clock in the morning for you guys?
Yeah, if it's 8 for you, then it's 3 for us. Or 3 on the East Coast, anyways, in New York, yeah.
Anything, Dave, that we might be missing before we hook it?
Well, none that I can think of. I think we've explored and exhausted everything.
We've explored and exhausted everything. Dave's dead, right? That's the Limerick lyricist himself, Dave Lee, who's jumped on thanks to Dave.
Oh,
Andy
you see this news here, by the way? Apparently they're bringing out a thing called a lesbian bed.
What?
A lesbian bed. It's no screws, just tongue and groove.
You know, it was funny when he was talking about news. I thought he was going to say, "Oh yeah, Yeah, Italy just rejected that referendum.
No, we're not going there. We're not going there. One final thing, actually, just before we go, we didn't mention it last week. We missed quite a lot last week, and thanks to everyone who sent in questions and stuff. We do try to get to them. We couldn't manage it. Nick Blackwell, unfortunately, Andy, was back sparring. The British board are taking a pretty dim view on this, as they should. Anyone who was involved in the training, him or letting the gym take place, their license should be under review, as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely, mate. I think that it's confirmed, according to the BBC article anyway, that the person he was sparring with was actually a professional fighter as well.
Oh.
And it was done in Wales somewhere, so I don't know if he was a Welshman or whoever, but it's no good. I know he's had to go in for emergency surgery and stuff. It's going to be another few more months rehab.
I heard he's okay though, right?
I really don't know, mate, in all honesty. I mean, he was okay coming out at the last time. I don't know if there's been further damage as a result of this. I mean,
they said that he was awake, talking, and stable. I thought.
Yeah, true, but you just don't know what kind of that. I mean, you've got that problem in the NFL now with the CTE stuff and that, right? I mean, you just don't know what damage has been done here as a result of this. You know, maybe you can't see it, but you just don't know if it's going to cause problems down the line somewhere. You know.
I mean, he really, he got such a gift. But I think that sometimes when you recover from something so fast and everything just seems to be fine. I mean, he was back in there. He was working with fighters. He's able to walk. He's able to talk. He's had, pretty much normal life. And, it's just so normal that it's like, I don't think he really comprehended the gravity of what he overcame, and he's like, oh, yeah, I could do a few rounds of the ring or something,
Yeah.
And has headgear and, I mean, look at me. I'm fine. Look at how much, look how great I am right now, And so I think that because he recovered so quickly and so easily, I think that it didn't really click with him, mentally of like what, the seriousness of what he was going through. And, I mean, obviously if he does it again, he's stupid, but you could kind of understand how he would do something like that or feel like he could, because he probably felt great. And, I mean, his whole life that's what he did for a living. That's what he clearly loves the sport a lot. And yeah, it's just really sad. I hope that he is in fact okay. From all the reports, that's what we've heard. But yeah, that's a shame.
Hopefully so. I mean, Dave, we're hoping he just takes the Kieran Farrell route and realises he's got to just hang the gloves up, even if he does a coaching capacity or something.
Yeah, I think he's trying to get he was trying to get his trainer's license, wasn't he? I think I read that.
He already had a license for a trainer's second, but he was trying to get the main trainer's license.
The full training license. But yeah, it was just a sad situation all around. I don't know the full story. I know Andy was talking about it there, that about it was a gym down in Wales, because my immediate thought was, did the guys even know who he was? I mean, he's not the most immediately recognizable face in the country, so I don't know the full story, but it's just a sad situation. But I hope he makes a full recovery.
Yeah, hopefully so. And also to Edouard Goutte next as well, who's still in a coma, I believe 12 or 13 days after his fight with George Groves. Hopefully Edouard gets better. I think, excuse me, guys, there was a Just Giving page or something going around as well. So rough time for the sport at the moment. Through. We'll be back next week. So much to talk about. Joshua, Crawford, the Charlo card as well, a bit of Parker Ruiz. All your questions and stuff are always welcome as well. Hopefully we'll get to a few more. So thanks everyone for listening. Andy Patterson was on the call. Donny Baseball, hated Dave Loback, jumped on as well. Dave Lee, always great to hear from Dave. Amir Khan jumped on tonight as well, and so did Richard Allen. We'll hopefully get Richard on next week, and he'll be at home and he'll be able to speak to us about the fight live. Right, guys, we'll speak to you next week. Thanks. Bye.